There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live stream on my YouTube channel. And just so you guys know, I'm focusing most of these on the YouTube channel because Facebook started to delete the previous live stream. So I'm approaching over 250 videos, and I have over 200 of these live streams. I actually have one that Tyler and I did earlier in 2018. We were just discussing that before. He launched Consider the Dog, his program. And dude, I think we might have done one before that too.
It's possible. I think I've been on a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it's been that long because I feel like those two were not spaced too far apart, but then it's been a long stretch.
Well, it's been a long stretch because even you haven't been to a conference, right? Since before the pandemic?
I went to one after the pandemic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for guys. We're streaming on X, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you guys like what I do, consider supporting me on Patreon, patreon.com/bowwowbills. Do you have a Patreon, Tyler? Okay. But you do have the Consider the Dog, which
I have
we'll talk
Consider
about.
the Dog. Yeah.
Yep. I'll put a link to my Patreon in the comments down below. And thank you all for everybody that supports me. I have Tyler Muto, who is very well known, but if you guys don't know him, you want to give a quick introduction on who you are and I mean, geez, since 2018, a lot has changed about what you do. So you want to catch us up with what you do now?
Yeah, these days I mostly do two things in the dog space. So one is I run Consider the Dog, which is my digital media platform that we just mentioned. It's myself, got 11 or 12 other instructors at this point, and it's all online courses, video-based online courses on dog behavior. And now we're launching also more professional-based courses that are also on running your business. About half of our demographic are professional dog trainers. And then I do a lot of coaching for professional dog trainers these days. So I mostly work with other professionals, help them to sort of optimize, if you will, not only their actual training abilities, their training plans, their training programs, help them, expand into new sort of techniques or whatnot. But also I do a lot of business coaching as well. In fact, these days it's mostly business stuff. It's funny. I was actually just thinking about this, sort of when I first started doing like one-on-one coaching with trainers, back in the early 2020s, most people wanted help with getting more confident working with aggression cases and things of that nature. And I think obviously the economy as a whole is very different nowadays. And everybody now wants help on the business end, on the financial end. I still get some people that are looking to sharpen their sword when it comes to training, but a lot of the trainers that are reaching out to me, it's actually for help with growing their businesses and kind of making that side of things as best as it can be. But yeah, historically, I used to run a big training center. I sold that 2022. Used to be on the board for the IACP, was president for a little while there, and used to teach seminars all over the world and kind of just kind of seen and done it all in the dog training side of the industry. So here I am now.
Yeah, and you were saying that when I messaged you earlier, like I'm a bit of a hermit now.
I'm a total hermit now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you got the family and the kids, and
you
got your little corner of the world up there, and the Northeast. Are you in Buffalo still, or?
Yeah, I'm in Buffalo. Yep.
Okay.
Right outside Buffalo. I mean, suburb of Buffalo, but yeah.
Well, and I think that it's valuable when you have somebody that has worked in the dog industry, giving advice on how to be a success in the dog industry itself. They got people, not saying that people outside of the dog industry cannot bring value as well, but I think as somebody who has actually had their hands on leashes, has the wherewithal to know client relationships, how people will view the relationship that they have with their dog. There's a lot to consider when it goes into building a successful a relationship with the clientele, but also a successful business. And actually, I was just talking to somebody not about an hour and a half ago. Sometimes I'll get phone calls from new trainers that have a case that comes up, and this particular trainer just called me, and she had a case that she just didn't know how to deal with it, and it was really weighing on her. She couldn't sleep over the weekend because this dog was out of control. She never seen a dog like this, and she was just considerate about that dog. And I had to, before I hung up the phone with her, I had to let her know, hey, look, we're going to have cases that we encounter that are going to weigh heavily on our hearts. And there has to be a degree of separation where we can focus on the people that we can truly help, and a way to be able to let go or separate ourselves from these cases that we possibly can't help. Otherwise, it's going to weigh you down. It's going to burn you out very quickly.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think man, I think burnout in this industry is wildly underreported. It's a real thing. Get a lot of trainers that reach out to me that are concerned. They feel themselves burning out. They feel themselves just not don't have that fire in them that they had before.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. There's an emotional burden, I think, that comes along with being a dog trainer that a lot of people don't talk about or think about. They certainly don't think about it when they like decide to be a dog trainer, right? Like it doesn't, you don't think about that sort of emotional weight that you often carry with some of these dogs and clients.
Well, and I think that we are in the emotional industry, which is a good thing in some aspects, but a lot of times you don't consider it as well until it's right there in front of your face.
Hmm.
And that's the importance of having mentors, um, having people that you can rely on, that you can bounce ideas off of, or even just to vent challenges that you're facing.
Absolutely. And just to have some form of community, whether that's something like the IACP or like I run a community as well. So I like to be able to coach people one-on-one, but I also find value in having access to a community for people of like-minded professionals. Because sometimes it is just venting, and it's like you don't need to pay me one-on-one just to like have some friends to like vent to. So it's nice to have a community option for people as well. I think that's one thing I think I've come to appreciate just in general as an adult in life is just the importance of community and being able to make contact with those around us.
Absolutely. But there's also value in having a professional relationship and treating those relationships in a professional manner, charging what you're worth, um, and not selling yourself short.
Hmm.
Right. And I find that, especially with new trainers, what do you think the most common problem that you see, particularly in new trainers? We have a lot of new trainers that watch these live streams, Tyler.
Okay.
What's some advice that you can give to somebody who's brand new in the industry, to help them get off on the right foot?
Well, I mean, we thinking there's so it's man, it's so broad, like the stuff that I cover. So it kind of varies. Like whether we're talking about business advice, training advice, like when it comes to actually like the cases that you're working with. Um, there's a lot of different things. I think in general, I think one piece of advice I would give people is like recognize, especially if you're striking out on your own, right? You're starting your own business. I think a lot of young trainers, and I was certainly this way, like super motivated to like soak up all the knowledge I could about what does it mean to be a really good dog trainer, right? What does that mean? What does that take to be a really good dog trainer? But then we also have to recognize that dog trainer is only one of the many hats that we wear. So we also then have to be a salesperson sometimes. So like, what does that mean? Like what goes into being a good salesperson, right? I think some people are like, they kind of shun away sales because it feels, I don't know, people have connotations about sales, but it's really an art form. And you can do it well, and you can do it in a way that feels really like true to you and comfortable. But there's certainly like some tried and true like things to know. Similarly with any other part of your business, what does it mean to you know have good copyright on my website? What does it mean to do well with my marketing right now? What do I have to know there? And I don't think anybody's going to put probably as much care and attention into those pieces of education, but um, I think a lot of people don't put enough into it. Like they just figure like, okay, I'm going to do free consults. I'm going to meet with that client. I'm going to sell, but they don't ever like stop and go, well, let me like research like how to make the most of like a free initial meeting from a sales standpoint, right? Because that's not unique to dog training. If you want to get a new furnace in your home, they're going to come over and do a free like evaluation of your current system. And it's just a sales meeting, right? And so, just take some time to look into those things. I think from a business standpoint, that can go a really long way. I see all ends of that spectrum where I see new trainers who have not put any thought into it. And then they've put all this time into like making a website, for instance. And then I look at their website and I'm like, hey, sorry to break this to you, but we got to make some changes here. There's a reason that you're not getting any clients. And then likewise, I see trainers who have put thought into it. And then I look at their stuff and I'm like, wow, you've done a really great job here. I've got a couple minor notes, some little like low hanging fruit things we can tweak, but overall, like, congratulations, you've put your time into understanding what you're doing on this. So from a business end of things, I think if I'm starting out, that would be my piece of advice.
So, and then far as trainers that are learning to be a dog trainer, I also see the fact of people seminar hopping, looking for, I mean, there's systems that are good that I've attended. Both of us have attended. Like for instance, we both went to NAPOPO, and there's like TWC out there. There's a few other certification courses that you can take. But I also see that people are trying to consume as much as they can without the time to assimilate the knowledge, to put it into practice, to apply it,
Yeah.
and to know what cases this particular system might be great for, and what cases that this excuse me, this system would be the antithesis for. And
And I think you and I came up in a different time, and there's pros and cons. But like when we were young aspiring dog trainers, there weren't like that many seminars to go. Like you're lucky if there's like one a year that's anywhere near where you could attend or that you would want to attend. There was no such thing as online courses at that point in time. So we didn't have to consciously sort of make that decision, right? You'd go to a seminar, you'd learn something, and then you kind of have no choice but to like, that's all you've got to play with until the next one comes around. Of course, the flip side is I do see some young dog trainers now that are at a level of sort of skill and execution of that skill that, they're 2-3 years in. It took me 5-6 years to get there. But the downside is, you see a lot of the bopping around. And then a lot, like one of the more common things that I've kind of recently, the trainers who have come to me that need help on the training end of things, I guess I'll call them newer dog trainers, but some of these folks have a few years of experience under their belt, 2-3 years. But they get like analysis paralysis because of all the stuff that they've learned.
Totally.
So especially when it comes to reactivity, like leash reactivity particular comes up a lot in this regard, where they go, man, I've learned so many different schools of thought and so many different like methodologies for leash reactivity. And then it's like, I've only got this number of sessions with this client, and I'm finding myself like, I don't even know where to spend my time because which approach do I want to take? I can only do so much, so on and so forth. And that's a really big problem for people. It's a very real problem for people, I guess I should say.
Yes.
And it's a problem that like you and I, like fortunately or unfortunately, like just didn't really have to deal with. Like we kind of just had to work through our own sort of style of things, us back in the day of the dawn of social media and those things.
Well, and we would have to jump right in and see what worked.
Yeah.
And get results or not.
Or not. Yeah, exactly. Or not.
Yeah, or pivot to another way, or I mean, and I just remember I even when I started, I would watch some of your videos when you had your facility, and it was fantastic, man. It was cool to just watch and to observe, and I think that also is very valuable in what I recommend people doing, and I do it myself when I go and I visit other dog trainers. Like I was recently in Florida with Omar and Ivan, and all I wanted to do was watch them. And that's one of the things that attracted me to study with Bart, was watching him. And when I would go to the IACP conference, I would watch people with their dogs. And then I spoke about this, I think back in 2010. when I watched this Rottweiler, just as cool as a cucumber. And it was Barbara de Groot, I think, was the handler.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want this. This is what I want. And so I didn't have the curated content that we find today on social media. I think your camera's like,
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to move it higher a little bit. I felt like I was
okay.
looking down at it, so I was just
Oh, you're
making an
good.
adjustment, making an adjustment.
But I think that we have, I mean, there's a few things that go on with the influx of information. And I like what you said about analysis paralysis, because we have so many different competing views that can staunch the actual hands-on, where a lot of times that's all we're doing is we're moving by the seat of our pants. I mean, it's basically we're living right there in the moment with the dog. And some of this stuff is intuitive, but it's we have knowledge to back up what we're doing. But when you get into the real work with the people and the dogs, it's split second decisions. It's constant monitoring the environment, the whatever's happening right then and there,
Mhm.
reading the dog properly, being able to read the clients as well, and talk to them and coach them, so that the dog is not just responding to you, but you can transfer this knowledge so they can get the benefit and the practices that you've just shown them and taught them. Um,
Yeah, I
so
mean, so I mean, along those lines, if I were to give a piece of advice to newer trainers when it comes to the training side of things, that piece of advice would be to really focus for an extremely long time on just the basics, like the fundamentals. It took me, I didn't really dig deep and like fully understand, for instance, the concept of classical conditioning. Like I knew classical conditioning on a surface level, very early on, but it wasn't until kind of later in my development that I like dug deep, that I actually read Pavlov's work, for instance, and then read a lot of the research that came out of it, and really gave myself a good understanding. Same with operant conditioning, same with ethology and other forms of cognition. Any of the methodology, I mean, you go to anybody's seminar out there, anybody that has their like proprietary method and to give it a name or whatever, when it works, it's going to work for the same reasons. And when it doesn't work, it's going to not work for the same reasons. And those are kind of like just the fundamental principles of how animals learn and absorb information, and how they behave. And so I think, really just staying focused on those fundamental principles, keeping things as simple as possible, I think really helps to cut through a lot of that noise. um, because you can recognize, okay, what I'm trying to accomplish is just this very fundamental thing. And so here are, my portfolio of techniques or things I can do to kind of hit that goal. Which one of these things do I think is best for this dog or client?
yes,
But I do a lot of like walking trainers through this kind of stuff all the time, where I look at their sort of toolbox. So much of the help I give trainers, I mean, I'm more than happy to share new techniques with people if people aren't familiar with like my style of doing things, and if that's what they want to learn. But a lot of trainers come to me, they're not looking to like change their methodology. They're not looking to try to become, and do things the way I do it. They just are kind of they already know enough. They're just having trouble knowing what to do and when, right? And
yes,
so a lot of it just comes down to helping them look at all the things they're doing, understand like what's fundamentally behind those things, what are the principles that are involved, and helping to understand the problem that they're faced with this particular dog and client. And then we sort of, what types of exercises, what types of lessons they need that dog to learn, because they could kind of just zero it down on just a few things. I think trying to do too much with a dog and client is a chronic problem of especially newer dog trainers. I think it was certainly a problem of mine. And it leads to all kinds of other like secondary problems down the line. But the more different skills you have to install in that dog and human, the more room there is for things to go awry. And also
yes.
the less likely that the dog or the human is going to master any one of those things.
Yeah, and we got to keep it simple, right? Einstein is, I think, was attributed with the quote, like, if you can't explain something simple, You just don't know it well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And you know
100%.
what's funny about this is that, I mean, and I've also said that we as trainers have to have an eclectic knowledge base, right? Just like you said, the portfolio of information that we do and have acquired through our years of experience. And but this also goes back to sales. I want to hop back there because a lot of times they do too much
Mm-hmm.
trying to
Yeah, those like 1 hour consultations are like they're like 2.5 hours later, they're finally walking out of the person's house.
yes. And they've done the majority of the talking. The trainer has done the majority of the
Yeah.
talking. Is
Yep.
that smart in sales?
It depends what part of your sales process you're on. But I think, I think it's okay to do the majority of the talking as long as you're saying things that are important and need to be said to serve the goal of the sale. I see a lot of trainers that are going into things during those meetings that are not at all helping them.
Can you give so you say sales process.
Yeah.
And so there is a process to this.
Yeah. 100%.
So what does that process look like? Is there like an introduction, uh, like going over benefits,
Sure. So
then
I'll
cost
get
per minute?
I'll share something really like just actionable out of the gate that'll kind of help people understand what I mean by process. So instead of just going through like a whole sales process, I mean, you can Google the term sales frameworks, for instance, and you'll get all kinds of results from like Harvard Business School and YouTube, this and that. But here's a common thing that comes up a lot that actually this is a complete needle mover if you want to increase your sales. Okay. Now, obviously, I care a lot about dog training and behavior. That's why I'm in this industry. But I also ran a really successful and profitable business. So you got to feed yourself, right? So
Yes.
I just don't want to make it sound like all I care about is like sales and money here. But okay, this is a needle mover. This is something that can make change your sales closing rate by 5, sometimes even 10%, which may not sound like a lot, but it adds up to literally tens of thousands of dollars at the end of the year. So one thing that we want to make sure we're doing, okay, I'll frame it this way. I think most dog trainers, certainly the dog trainers that I am fortunate enough to work with, are really cool people. They're really good people. They're honest people. They're empathetic. And because of that, they're really mindful when they're talking to a potential client about not like overinflating that person's expectations. They want to make sure that they're being sort of forthright about, for instance, something like the amount of work that the human's going to have to do. That this isn't like, especially for a board and train, for instance, you're not just going to send your dog off and it's going to come back fixed. Like there is going to be work. You do have to be part of this. So here's the process part is all that stuff is important. A lot of trainers put it in at the wrong time.
Hmm.
If you really want to be good about closing sales, the first thing you have to do, I mean, there's other things you do first, like identifying the person's, pain points and whatnot. But when you're starting to talk about your training, in the beginning, it's the time to talk it up. It's the time to make it sound as good as it can be. It's the time to paint the picture of what it looks like in the ideal situation. Not unrealistic, but like your ideal clients, like real results that you have achieved with like a good client with a dog that doesn't have genetic issues, and like really paint a picture for people of what is this end result that they're going to get. Because what you want to happen here is you want the person at the very least in their own mind, if not actually out loud, to say, I want that. If that's what you're selling, that's what I want. You need to kind of get them to that point. You need to describe what you do and the end results in such a way that the person goes, yes, this is the thing that I'm looking to buy. Great. I'm in the right place. Once they've done that, you're in a much better position to say, okay, but listen, hold on here, because I need you to understand there's still going to be work that you have to do. Because they've already told themselves, yes, I want this. So now they would have to actively talk themselves out of it. But a lot of trainers bring up these things. They bring up, okay, we're going to meet once a week. It's going to be for this long. You're going to have to come to my facility. You're going to have to practice, every single day, 3 times a day. They bring up all this process stuff, all this thing that kind of like puts sand in the gears a little bit. But the person doesn't even know if they want what you're selling yet. And all of a sudden you're making it sound less appealing. And it's a subtle shift. We're still going to give them all the same information, but by kind of putting it in the right place in that process, you can dramatically affect the turnout of those meetings, like really dramatically. In fact, I had a client who actually, historically, this guy is awesome at sales, like really just naturally charismatic person, really good at sales. But this is a longtime client of mine. I see them on and off over several years. And at one point, his sales were slumping and he kind of didn't know why. He normally was batting in the like mid 70%, as far as like 70% of the people sign up. And all of a sudden he's dipping down into the 60s, high 50s, which isn't terrible, but for him, it was not good. And so we just kind of diagnosed what he was doing. And like, that was it. That was the one shift that we made, and it got his sales numbers back on track.
So repositioning the framework of the client's mindset to be a favorable of like, ooh, I want this. Tell me more. Now they're ready.
Yeah, like here's my credit card, take my money. And then you go like, hold on, got to make you understand, listen, not all dogs are good. Like it's a dog. I can't predict the outcome. You know what I mean? So this is what I'm going to shoot for in this amount of time. This is the point where you kind of like check those expectations and kind of set those realistic expectations for somebody. But the person's already said, yes, I want the thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So yeah, being comfortable talking yourself up. Like it's okay. It's okay to say, you know what, my training is awesome. These results are going to change your life. This is good. Your quality of life is going to be dramatically different when we're done. Like you can do that. Make yourself sound good. But also making sure that when you like, yes, absolutely, we want to set realistic expectations, but there's a point in that sales meeting to do that. And if you do it too soon, it cuts off the sale before it even started.
Yes.
You've already got the person building up resistance when they don't even know if they want the thing that you're selling yet. And that's not what you want to do. Right. So again, you don't have to say unrealistic things. You don't have to use crazy language that doesn't feel natural to you, but like really paint a nice picture for them of like what they're going to get at the outcome of this. Get them saying like, yes, this sounds good. Yes, I like that. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. If you can get them to say it out loud, that's even better. You know what I mean? Then you can kind of move forward from there. So that's what I mean by process. Those like that's a process thing that can just make a huge difference for people.
Get them leaning in, listening to what you say. Now, what are some ways that you can get people like would it be having a demo dog? Would it be posting up your training? Would it be testimonials from other clients? There's so many things that are running through my mind right now about how do I get this person to say yes before I start getting into the nitty-gritty of what's required of them.
So there's a lot of ways that you can, you'd call that like, in a sense, you'd call it like demonstration of value, right? It's like for like a salesy term, right? It'd be like the demonstration of value. So you could do it just simply by the way that you describe the programs. I mean, if you're doing a phone consult, for instance, it could literally just be the way you talk about things. Some people do demo dogs. I did that for a while. And then I kind of decided that for me, at least, and for my style, because there's no one right way here, that I actually preferred to do a demo on the client's dog. I wanted to show them what their dog was going to look like working with me. Who cares what my dog can do? Let me show you what your dog can do.
Yes.
That worked well for my training style. It doesn't work well for everybody. That's okay. Actually, when I first started putting videos on YouTube, I was one of the early dog trainers on YouTube. There were people before me for sure, but YouTube was only like 1 or 2 years old when I first started posting on there. And those first videos, the main reason I made them was because I was doing these like free in-home consults. And this was like iPhones just came out, right? And I bought an iPhone and I was like, I can now add a consult, be like, oh, you have a reactive dog? Check out this other reactive dog that I just worked with. And I could just pull that up on my phone during the consult, right? So that's another way. That's kind of like a testimonial. You can certainly have testimonials. You can have them if you're handing them something at the consult, like with a price sheet with your programs on it. You can have testimonials woven into that. And then there's certainly all kinds of things you can be doing in your marketing so that the person basically wants to buy from you before they even have that meeting. I mean, as your business matures, that's really the end goal. So in the ending stages of my business, a lot of the people that contacted us, it was a very soft sale because they've seen so much of our content. They've read so many of our testimonials. They were referred by their neighbor, their vet, their groomer, and their cousin. And so they're just like, it was just like a no-brainer for them. So in that sense, all that work had been done for us before that meeting even took place. So there's obviously overlap between marketing and sales as well.
Well, word of mouth, dude, that's my business. Essentially, that is my business. I have lived a very comfortable life for the past 20 years based on word of mouth. And I tell you, whenever I get a referral, here's what it looks like for me. First off, I if the people let me know, hey, I referred you to my friend. When that friend calls me, I tell them, look, thank you for calling me. I've heard so much about you from so and so who
Yeah.
referred me.
You make it personal right away,
Right
right?
away, and I
You
say,
make it
"I've been
personal.
looking forward to meeting you,
Yep.
and I know about your dog. I know what you're dealing with, but give me a little idea of what's going on." And then if my the people that referred me, if they use my boarding services, then I give them a free night's of boarding. I give them something as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll even send if they're out of state or whatever, I might send them a little gift package or a picture of their dog that I have, or I don't know. There's been so many things that I've done to just kind of keep that reciprocity chain open. And then also when I am looking at my clients too, I mean there's also something that people need to know is that not every client is for me as well. So even if they didn't get a word of mouth referral, and that's going to move you pretty far up in my chain as far as like, yes, you're going to be a client of mine, but there's also clients that I have to pass, um, maybe because of the situation, maybe because of I don't know. I mean, there's so many that we just don't get along. There's
Bad vibe. Yeah.
bad vibe too, man, and I
Yeah.
think that that's important for business owners to know too, is that you can't be everything to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and if you try to be that, then you end up being nothing to nobody, and so, um, that's an important aspect as well, but I just wanted to say, like, the word of mouth, I mean, I
Those
have
tend to
a
be some of
website.
the easiest sales. Yeah. Word
Yeah,
of mouth sales those are what we call those are like softer sales, right? They're just easier. They're already warmed up for you.
yep,
There's already like trust and rapport established. So a lot of times if it's somebody that's not referred, they just found you on Google, that's the beginning part of that process, whether it's just through that initial email or in the beginning of that meeting, that consultation, the evaluation, whatever you want to call it. Um, that's what you're trying to do initially is just build some rapport, build some trust there, because that's so important in this industry is people are trusting us with their loved ones, right?
that's right.
So they want to feel good about who you are. So that's part of that process as well, right? And you think about how do I go about doing this? I just had this conversation with somebody earlier today. This plays right into this. So you mentioned like you get a referral from somebody. So when that person comes in, you like right out of the gate, you're like, hey, I'm so glad you called me. I know you were referred by blah, 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 blah. Right. So I had a client earlier today. I was going through her website with her. She's done a bang up job on her website on her own. So we're just tweaking a few things. And one thing I noticed is that she doesn't have a contact page. She has a button for people to like sign up for her like free first meeting, but there's no contact page. If you scroll to the footer of the website, she's got her email address listed. I said, how many people reach out to you like just by copy and pasting your email and then they just like write to you because they just want to like ask you some questions before they like set up this free meeting? And she's like, oh, I hate it. It happens all the time. I said, well, let me make a suggestion to you. Why don't you make a contact form? And a few things that you definitely want to have on there are like the dog's name and age and breed. And then what's the owner's pain point? Like, why are they reaching out? What are their goals here? Because then you can just send them a follow-up email and say, hey, like, I understand that, Fred, your three-legged beagle is going bananas on walks every time he sees other dogs. And it's got to be so embarrassing for you. I just helped the client with that last week. I really am looking forward to helping you as well. I think the best thing to do would be to set up this free transformation meeting. So at that point, she's selling them. She needs to sell them, not on the final product, but just on that free first meeting. But if you have the dog's name and breed, you're opening that email with making it personal, showing that you've heard them, you've read, you've understood, instead of like they send you an email and it's just, hey, I want to learn more about your training. And then you got to write back like, cool, what do you want to know? And then they write back. And then now it's like 17 emails later. You know, you can really just have like a form email that's like a template that you just drop in the dog's name, and it feels much more personal and saves you a tremendous amount of time, and also increases the probability that they just go, oh yeah, sure, that sounds good. Let me set up that free first meeting. I just wanted to make sure you were a real person first.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Well, and it reminds me of who was it? How to Win Friends and Influence People. Is it Dale
Oh,
Carnegie?
Napoleon Hill. Is that
Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill?
Yep,
Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon
Yeah.
Hill. He writes
Yeah.
about Dale Carnegie and
Yeah.
that, and Think and Grow Rich, but there's nothing as sweet as sounding as to somebody as their first name that you learn in that book. How to Win Friends and Influence
And
People.
so in this case, it's their dog's first name too, right?
Totally.
Like you just refer to their dog by name out of the gate. It makes a big difference. And so it's the same thing that you're doing when you reach out to that person. So, and like what I'm trying to do here too is like, you know, because you said you have a lot of new trainers that listen, like this is just like free stuff. I mean, these are all really actionable things that I promise you make a difference. And they're so easy. That's like, I like to focus with my clients on, first and foremost, I always look for what the low hanging fruit, right? The stuff that's just easy to do, that also is a high probability, high impact shot, right? So what takes low effort, but gives you high output? Those are the things that I'm looking for first and foremost, because then we get the ball rolling. They already see some growth. They're motivated now. And then if there's things that they want to do that are going to require a little more tedious work, like cool, but like we already got, like you're already making more money. You've already got more leads flowing in. Your sales rate is already higher. Like we already did these easy things that had an impact. I'm the same way when I train a dog. In my first lesson, I go for high impact things that are going to make a difference in the owner's life, because I need the owner to buy in. If I'm going to ask them to do something that's slow and tedious, I need them to already be convinced that following my advice is going to help them.
Yes.
And so I do that by doing something high impact first, even if it's not necessarily what would be the logical first step from a purely dog training standpoint. It's not just the dog, it's the dog human team. So for that whole team to work well, I need the human to buy in. And so that's always my first step, is getting that human buy-in.
Well, and that builds confidence, and that confidence will lead to a more effective training process. And keep in mind, you guys, like we're talking right here over this live stream, very broad. But if you are interested, Tyler does this for a living. He has a business where he helps one-on-one businesses. So if you need help for your particular situation, let me shout out your. So is it? What's
just
the
TylerMuto.com, TYLERMUTO.com.
Yeah, I'll put up a link to that in the comments, you guys, and send Tyler a message and let him help you with some of this stuff for your particular business, because what we're going to talk about today might be broad. It might it might help you, but it might be something that we need to get like a little bit more thin sliced down for your situation.
Absolutely. Everybody's business is unique. Yeah.
Totally. And everybody, I mean, we're in different parts of the country. We have a different clientele that we speak to. We have different, I mean, niches.
I never know how to say that word either. Yeah. Niches. I know what you're trying to say.
All of us are working on, right? It's from pet dog to sport dog to whatever it is. I mean, tracking, trailing, hunting.
Yeah.
You know,
I've got clients that are, you know, everything e-collar. I've got clients that are only reward-based training. I've got clients that have facilities, clients that are working out of the tiny 1-bedroom apartment. And I would say, you know, one of my advantages is I've been coaching professional dog trainers. I did my first seminar in, I think, either 2009 or 2010. So I've been coaching professionals for a really long time. People will fly me out to their facilities. Obviously, I do these one-on-one things. You know, when you're looking around online, everybody publicly only puts their best foot forward. That's normal. Nobody's going to blame them for that. I get to peek behind the curtains. So at this point, I'm, you know, 15 years in to working with professional trainers, and for the past, you know, about 5 years, it's been exclusively what I don't take pet dog clients anymore. I've looked under the hood of a lot of dog training businesses, and the ones that are thriving, the ones that are struggling, and a lot of patterns emerge. But also I've seen, you know, again, it's not like what I don't do is like Your business doesn't have to look like mine. Your sales process doesn't have to be like mine. Your programs don't have to be like mine. Your training methodology doesn't have to be like mine. It's not because when you understand the principles underlying everything, it's, again, you can be really playful with how you apply those principles. You can make it really unique to you. And that's the only way you're going to thrive anyway. You're never going to thrive by mimicking somebody else. It's
No.
okay to mimic in the beginning as you're finding your own footing. But anybody that tries to force you that like you have to do it their way, that's going to have its limitations. So whether it's me or anybody else, you want a mentor it's not all about like that they have like the ultimate like holy grail and you have to adhere to their system, because that's probably not actually going to be where you thrive long term. You're going to have some variation of it that's also a melding of other things you've learned and some stuff you figured out on your own. And so, yeah, I think it's one of the things that I really enjoy about what I do now is having spent so many years, looking at other dog trainers' work and their businesses and their methodologies and being able to assimilate all of that and kind of shortcut for the clients that I work with, right? Like they get to benefit from everything that I've been able to see. I get to kind of bring to them and say, hey, here's the patterns that I see that are kind of dragging you down. Here's the things you're doing well that you need to do more of. And we can be really efficient. And I'm just like I am with training dogs, I'm like super, super goal oriented. So everything I do with my clients is like, we have a goal we're working towards and we are going to make tangible progress towards that goal. Otherwise, what are we even doing here?
Well, and I think that you could also point out, because I just had a comment, we'll go to the comments here in just a second, you guys. I forgot that he does that, right? I spend money on stupid marketing businesses that got no results. And I've heard so many of these stories, Tyler.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on, is like, I bring people on that I know are have integrity, and I've been duped a couple times, and I've deleted some of the live streams that I've done with people that I've found out after they're like, "Hey man, this guy hosed me, or this gal, didn't do well." But I've heard some horror stories about some of these companies that are out there that are preying on dog trainer businesses that
Especially some of
really.
the marketing agencies. And there are some good ones out there, I think. There's some good people doing marketing work with dog trainers, but there is a lot of, like digital marketing is hard. So a lot of these marketing companies, they're going to be doing like paid ads for you.
Mhm.
That's a really tricky game to play. It's a really, really tricky game to play. Especially if your sort of base content isn't that catchy to begin with. It's not like retail, and so I think part of it, I think there are some companies that are just maybe they don't have the strongest ethics. I think there are some companies that are genuinely trying really hard. It's just hard to make that kind of marketing work for all dog trainers. And so I think you have to understand that you're taking a little bit of a gamble. You have to be okay with that. Like for instance, I had a marketing company I worked with for Consider the Dog that was doing social media ads for me. And so there's a minimum commitment. They've got their agency fees plus the ad spend fees, and there's a minimum number of months they want you to commit to. And so I did the math and I said, okay, this is worst case scenario. Let's say I don't make a penny off these ads, right? Like it does nothing to boost my business. How much money am I in the hole for? And am I okay with that? Am I willing to take that chance? And then I decided yes. And then I went through the program. And honestly, they were great people. I have nothing bad to say about them. It just didn't work. But at the end of it, I had already accepted that possible outcome. And so I was fine. You know what I mean? I have no hard feelings towards them. But I do think that if you're going to engage with like an agency that's going to run ads for you, you do need to kind of run that math and accept that possible outcome. I have some people I talk to that have had excellent results with that kind of marketing. So I'm not at all saying that it doesn't ever work. I'm just saying it's not a shoe-in.
Yeah, it cost benefit analysis, right? It was like, look,
Yeah.
what's this going to cost us? What's the benefit of this? And it's
And
just
as you know, in my
it's,
other worlds, in my other non-dog hats, I'm managing risk all day long.
that's
So
right.
I think about risk a lot, and I know I'm always like I've learned to say, do I accept this risk? Do I not accept this risk? And then being okay with that.
Yep. And being okay with when it doesn't work, and
Yeah,
being,
exactly.
but same thing with dog training, dude. Sometimes
Absolutely.
it doesn't
Yeah.
work. You're like,
And
well,
sometimes dog training is all about risk management too, especially when you're working with some of the dangerous cases, right?
you better believe it. And it's an
Yeah.
industry that will literally bite you in the butt. But let's head to the comments here. Let's be because they're starting to build up here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Um, Earlier on when we were talking about, I think there's a big problem with all the sport dog philosophy in the pet dog world. I agree and I disagree.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Because just like we were talking about, if you understand the principles behind some of the sport dog philosophy and be able to apply that to the pet dog world, um, nice. I got a little,
Yeah. You hit the
uh,
nail on the head there, actually, because sometimes you apply it in the opposite way, right?
yes,
So here's a tangible example of what I mean by that, because that can sound like kind of out there. Okay. So you and I both trained with Bart Bellin.
yep,
And so Bart is big on like powerful, motivated, fast dogs, right? And
ignition, right?
I remember, I trained with him before he had the Nipopo school. So we're going like way, way back. But I remember at one point he was talking about how when he does recalls, how everybody else, they would do their clicker when the dog kind of gets to them. And he was like, I try to click when I think the dog is running as fast as it's going to run on that recall. I try to click at the peak speed of the recall because that's what I want the dog to understand. Okay, cool. Well, I'm a pet dog trainer. So I was like, well, if you can reinforce the dog when it's at its peak level of arousal, can we reinforce the dog when it's at its lowest level of arousal?
Yes.
Right. And so, same principle applied in the complete opposite way. The one thing I will say, because I agree with you, I think yes and no to this comment as well. I totally understand what this person is saying. I think though, like, man, sport people think about their training in such a more like detailed, like kind of
Thorough.
cognitive, like
Yes.
nerdy way. And I used to love going to sport seminars when I was like developing as a dog trainer, but then I'd have to bring it home and go, okay, cool. Now, how does what I learned, how do I apply that to what I'm trying to do here? So
Yes.
I might want a different outcome. I might want a totally different output, but how does the principle apply? And so that story with how I applied the principle that I learned from Bart to my work, just did the opposite. But the principle was you can reinforce an arousal level based on the timing of your reinforcer.
That's right. Well, and
Right. That was
I've
the
talked to
principle.
Bart too about this because I'm like, look, dude, I'm kind of like anti-NAPOPO, not meaning that I don't like it or I'm against it, but I apply
You
the
want a different
exact
output. Yeah.
opposite, right? Because he's looking for ignition and flashy and heart and soul, where and not only that, but I've reverse engineered how my clients have inadvertently used kind of the NAPOPO philosophy to get the dogs
Like
fired up for
accidentally.
behavior, right, that
Like
they don't
accidentally.
like pulling on
Yeah.
the leash, barking at the door,
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff like that. And so with the knowledge that I have from going to the sport dog world, I'm like, okay, if I want ignition and I'm using intermittent rewards, I'm letting the dog a break to come fly to me to get it and different things like I'm rewarding at the peak. But if I want stability and calm, I'm bringing room service, I'm bringing predictable rewards, I'm
100%. Yeah.
right, I'm marking when the dog is at the lowest level of arousal to kind of rewire that brain for the pet dog world. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
knowing what I've learned from the sport dog, and then what Bart said to me is like, now when the client is ready, once you've had that established, if they want to head the other direction, meaning that
You
if they
know how
want
to
to
make
get
it happen.
fired up, then we know how to do that as well, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah. And see, but Bart gets it. And I do think what this person who's commenting, like, I do see sometimes people in the sport world that they think like they don't have that much experience in the pet dog world, and they
mm,
genuinely think that like pet dog people should be training the way they train. And I do think that can be problematic. But I think a lot of like the big name people like Bart and Ivan and Michael, like they know. Like they absolutely know. I mean,
yes,
Bart, I remember the first time I've told this story before, so some people might have heard it, but my old Malinois Lobo, I brought him to a workshop with Bart. It was like a 5-day thing. And I wanted him to help me. I used to dabble in just some sport obedience because I thought it was fun, you know. And I wanted him to help me with my focused healing. And he said to me, he didn't know me really well at this point. He said to me that my dog was too polite. right? You know Bart. That he
Yeah,
likes his dogs. He used to say he wants his dogs to be a little bit of a hoodlum. So he said to me, my dog was too polite. And I was like, all right, man, I'll take that to heart, you know? And then during the lunch break, somebody else was talking to him about me in some context, who knew me. And they told him like what I do, and that, you know, Lobo actually helps me socialize other dogs. And he's kind of like my stable, balanced dog. Like that's his job. And Bart came up to me during lunch and he said, I have to apologize to you. He said, I told you your dog was too polite. Actually, your dog is perfect. I didn't know what your dog's job was. So he gets it. Bart gets it.
yes,
He doesn't say you have to train the way he does. You have to train the way he does if you want the output that he wants. If you want that output, then yes. If you want a different output, then the principles can just be applied differently. But sport people do really interesting things. A lot of them, they're doing really interesting stuff. And a lot of innovation is driven out of competition.
yes, and you need a dog that's bold, that's pushy, that is determined, and it goes all the way back to being a puppy, like being a little hoodlum, like getting in and figuring out to get into the treat bag and shove his way in there, and there's some aspects of that that I absolutely love, but there's sometimes my clients are like, dude, he's already too
Yeah,
much
they
of
want
a
a couch
hoodlum.
potato.
They
They want
want
the opposite, you know.
That's right. And so, like, now that he's a hoodlum, how do we reverse engineer it to make him
How do we
polite?
de-hoodlumize them?
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely.
How do
Absolutely.
how do we give him manners?
Yeah. Yeah.
Explain it to a 5-year-old. Yeah, absolutely. Make it simple, right? That's where we were talking about that. Hi, you guys. Hello. We have Kashi. Do you know Kashi?
Nah.
Kashi's in India, man. You got to watch some of this guy's stuff. He's pretty remarkable with some of the training that he does, and I've had him on a live stream before, and just the way that he thinks outside of the box, and during my conversation that I just had with Ivan Balvanov, we talked about how this is an art and a science, and Kashi's an amazing artist when it comes to behavior with dogs.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well,
great
actually,
guy.
I have a friend in India that I talk to almost every day.
Yeah, let me know where you guys are in the country. I always like seeing those comments. Hey, Bridget. Um, that is why I've thought about those services, but losing autonomy, talking um, about doing making it your own, right? And not
Yeah.
just listening to people that it's their way or the highway.
And there are
Um,
some, like, not just the marketing companies, but there are some like business coaches out there for dog trainers that it really is like they've got this like kind of system that works, right? Certain kind of programs, and you sell them a certain way. Um, and so they're like, hey, I'll teach you how to make a lot of money, but it's sort of like the caveat is it's like you kind of have to do it this way. Like I have this tried and true system. And again, I think that's okay. Like I think short term, there's nothing wrong with that. But I also don't think you have to do it that way in order to make money. And I don't think it's usually a long-term good solution for people, especially like earlier we talked about people kind of burning out. But I think also if you're training in such a way that it doesn't feel like true to who you are, whether that's your training style or even just the programs or the way you're doing your sales, if it doesn't feel like comfortable and true to who you are, you're never really going to be thriving. You're never really going to hit your peak stride. And
and
I
your
learned that
client
even with my employees. I've talked about that publicly many times.
and your clients are going to know it. They're going to
100%.
like
Yeah.
people are smart, right? And they know when something gels with you and if you're being authentic. And that's what, like, even when doing these live streams, people ask, can I swear on it? And I was like, do you swear in real life, dude? I want the authentic you. And that's why I try to be as authentic as I can on these as well. What you get is what you see in real life, and people have told me that watch these and then meet me in real life. Four Paws Canine Resort wants to know, will you be doing a seminar this year?
I have no seminar plans. I've only done one seminar since like 2018. I stopped doing seminars. I started saying no to them.
You're a hermit
Told you I'm
now.
a hermit. I wasn't
Yeah.
lying when I said I'm a hermit these days. I get asked to do seminars all the time. It's nothing personal. It's just not my bag these days.
Yeah. Speak more about risk of dangerous cases. I mean,
Broad
there's
topic. Yeah.
very broad topic. I mean, anytime I get a dangerous case, first thing that goes into my mind is protocols. Like, how do we keep this dog safe? How do we keep other dogs safe? How do we keep other people safe? And how do I avoid
Keep yourself
getting
safe.
bit? Right. And
Yeah.
so, muzzle conditioning, How do we get that muzzle on? Dude, I remember an old video of yours with the grabber. I have a grabber out there too
Yeah.
from when I back tie, and I'll put I haven't done it in a very long time,
Dude,
but,
those little claw grabbers come in so handy. I mean, if you board dogs or have a facility or whatever, like get yourself one of those little grabber things, those little arms. Oh my God, we use it for so many things.
yeah.
They're the best.
Well, and
Yeah, I think one thing too when it comes to dangerous cases that I just want to say is like, it's okay to lose the battle to win the war. I think sometimes people are working with a difficult dog and that dog starts acting up in some kind of way and they feel like they need to deal with it right then and there. And if you're not prepared to, do it in a way that's safe and productive, like it's okay to let the dog feel like they won that time. It's okay to let them,
yeah,
get away from you or grab the leash out of your hand. It's like you say, okay, you got that one, but now I know that that's a possibility. And now I'm going to set the situation up again, but in a way where I have the upper hand and I'm prepared, or I have safety situations in place, whether that's a back tie or a muzzle or something else. But I think especially this is like going back to like newer trainers.
yes,
I think there's like an imposter syndrome aspect to this, where
yes,
also even just saying no to a case in general because it feels a little bit too dangerous, where people say, well, if I don't take aggression cases, does that mean I'm like not a real dog trainer? Like I've got friends that have been training dogs for 20 years that don't take aggression cases. They just don't like them.
yeah.
You know
I'm
what I
one.
mean? Just don't
I don't
want to.
very
Right.
rarely
So
do
it's
I.
like, it has nothing to do. Like, I don't teach people agility. Does that mean I'm not a real dog trainer? Like what? Like you don't have to do everything. I've got a friend that doesn't do separation anxiety cases because she hates it. So, it's okay to just say no. It's okay to say like, this is a little bit beyond my skill set right now. Or, it's okay to even end a session early if things are getting a little bit out of hand and you need to go back and just like, you know what, let me just make sure I plan this better. Um, and so I think a big thing from a safety standpoint that gets in the way sometimes is just our own ego a little bit. Not ego in a bad sense of like you have an inflated ego, but sometimes we want to protect our ego. We don't want our ego to get damaged. And if we feel like, oh, I failed in this lesson because I let that dog win or I wasn't prepared for that means I'm a bad dog trainer. It's like, no, you're a good dog trainer if you knew when to walk away
Yes.
from the situation, you know? And like that dog's been getting away with aggression his whole life. Like one more instance is not going to change anything, anything at all, you know?
Well, and I did a live stream with Chad Mack and probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we kinda go back to some of the instances that we've had where we've messed up, and this is
Mhm.
exactly what Tyler's talking about, is where we were so determined to let the dog know, like, "I'm the boss," instead
Yeah.
of letting the
Or
dog
like, I
have
can't let you win, right? It's like that mentality. Like, no, but if I let you win, I'm reinforcing the aggression. It's like, it's just once. It's just one time. Like, let them win this one.
Yep,
Come back when you're ready. You know what I mean?
yep, we've let
Yeah.
him win the battle, you're gonna win the war
Yeah.
eventually, but sometimes we have to take a step back and,
Keep yourself safe.
keep
Yeah.
yourself safe, but also now we know, and so maybe we won't let it reach to that degree of dysregulation on the dog's part, or aggression or whatever it is, that we can mitigate it. We can use different environment, different tools, back ties, long line, things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Being prepared is half the battle when it comes to these dangerous cases. And by the way, this is something that comes up a lot when I do like, again, when I'm working with trainers and it's like on dog stuff, not business stuff, a lot of times it's a case study. So they say,
mm,
hey, I want to get better at working with aggression, working with dangerous dogs. Like, I feel like that's my weak point, and I want to do it. Not just that I feel like I should be doing it because I'm a dog trainer, but I actually want to. Um, and so we kind of, okay, cool. Like, let's set up our coaching, and then we're gonna wait until you get one of those dogs in, and then we're going to start our sessions and we're going to go through this together. Every meeting you have with the client, we're going to meet in between. We're going to talk it through. I'm going to ask you for video. We're going to go through this and I'm going to walk through this with you start to finish,
yep,
sometimes multiple dogs. And that's the best way to learn because, I could just verbal diarrhea out to somebody like a whole bunch of principles on this kind of stuff, but like they need to feel it and see it and need to see the results. If I say like, hey, try this, try XYZ, and then is that really going to do anything? Well, do it and you'll find out. Or maybe it doesn't, but then we know how, part of the process is also knowing, okay, we had a plan. That lesson did not go the way we thought it was going to. What do we need to adjust?
Yeah.
And so that kind of like inter-program troubleshooting as well is really
I
helpful.
I've done that so many times with trainers and doing the Zoom call, and you guys got to videotape it, because if we can go back in time and look at this video, and I actually scroll right through that video, sometimes second by second, and I'm like, now see here, now look here, now look here.
Yeah.
And then here's where I would turn around. Here's where I would have done something different. And 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 a lot of times I hear my clients go like, "Oh yeah, dude, I was thinking that after the fact," and I'm like, "Good. Next
Yeah.
time, go with your intuition here. You're on the right course. It's just that where your timing might have been off, or you reinforced it, at the wrong time, or you let this person get too close, or there's so many different scenarios that I
All
can
of
think
things.
of, right?
And honestly, even if you don't have a mentor or a coach that you're working with, one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to regularly record yourself working and review that footage. Like review it with an open mind, take some notes. What went well, what didn't go well, what did you notice in the review that you didn't necessarily notice in real time? I do this every day with some of the other things that I do, where I do the thing and then I have the review process every single day. It's every professional athlete after every game, they're watching the tape, right? Sometimes multiple times through. It's one of the fastest ways for self-improvement. You can be your own coach if you have a well thought out self-review process. It's
Yeah, I
probably
do.
the number one most important thing that you can be doing for your own personal growth.
When I do glass blowing, I'll review the tape when I'm blowing glass, right? And if
Yep.
something went wrong, I'm like, oh my goodness! When I reached for the kiln, the punty or the handle of the glass went into the flame, and I didn't realize it until I came back in the flame and everything shattered. I was like,
Yep.
okay, cool. Like there's just
Now
little
you know.
things that you
You can't notice it all in the moment. You get tunnel vision in the moment. It's not in the moment is one of the worst times for your brain to learn. You
yeah.
know, but if you can watch it back after the fact, I mean, your brain is so receptive to learning. You can slow mo, you can rewind, you can do all these things. Like I said, I do it every day. And that's not an exaggeration. And yeah, I mean, especially when you're trying to like develop your training, but even going back to like the sales thing, right? If you find like, man, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm losing my clients halfway through these free consults, or I keep getting the same objections that come up at the end over and over again. Well, start recording your sales calls. Like watch them back. You probably have no idea half the stuff you're doing in there. You probably have no idea how long you're dragging on about certain things and the client's eyes are glazing over, and start recording them. You don't have to record every single one. You're never going to have the time to watch back every single one, but once a week, record a session and watch it back.
Well, and no, too, with sales calls, the one thing that changed everything for me was somebody told me features tell, benefits sell,
Mhm.
right? And I was stuck on features.
I
Here's
just,
the
again, I had that conversation today with somebody.
right. It's
Yeah.
like, what are you hoping to, or here's the benefit that this will provide you, and then putting it in their court, and then letting them stew a little bit, letting them kind of visualize their life, letting them ask questions.
Yeah.
That's where I was the one that was always talking during these sales calls, and once I stopped, and literally, man, I'd have to consciously shut up, because it's hard for me, and letting silence unfold too.
Mhm.
I mean, there's value in all of this stuff, and just understanding human behavior, human psychology, knowing that sometimes people need a second to contemplate, to put things together. They're visualizing in their head. And I asked him, what would that feel like to you if you had a dog like this?
Yeah. See, you're painting that picture, like you mentioned, like having them visualize. I mentioned I had a very similar conversation earlier today, and that's sort of like features versus benefits. But in this case, it was slightly different. Same idea, kind of a variation, but on their website, on their services page, which is kind of a sales page, there was a lot of talk about this was specifically for their day training programs. This person's going to know who they are if they're watching this. They're going to totally know who they are. So they're just launching a day training program, and they're like, did a great job putting together the page on their website. But one thing I noticed was like, there was a lot of talk about like what the dog gets in the program. And I'm like, I said, but the dog's not the one writing the check. Like, what does the human get? Right? What's the benefit to the human? You talked about what the benefit to the dog is. What's the benefit to the owner? Because that's what they're really buying at the end of the day, right? But it's just that same idea. You know what I mean? Let them think about that. Paint that picture of like, hey, imagine like your friends come over, and instead of your dog like being all up in their business when they're taking their jacket off, like your dog's laying on its dog bed and chills there until everybody's like settled. And then you can let your dog say hi to people once they're like ready to receive it, And I go, well, it's possible. Like, yeah, totally. It's possible, but you paint that picture for them, and that's about them. That's about their life experience, what they can get out of this. Imagine not being embarrassed walking your dog, or not being anxious about the fact that you still have to walk your dog. Like, imagine feeling that difference in your day. That's a huge weight off your shoulders. Instead of only talking about like, again, our methods, and again, what the dog is going to experience, what the dog's going to get. Not that that isn't important.
Yeah.
It's only part of the picture.
Mine is always imagine, because we have this beach that a lot of people go to, and I'm like, imagine you're on that beach and you call your dog, and the dog flips his head around and comes running right towards you. And I could already see on their face, they're just like, oh, so great. And
I'm my like, dog won't do that. Not my dog. He won't do that. Like, yeah, he will.
I'm like, tell me what you're feeling right now. Like, and I try to get them to say, oh man, this feels amazing. I was like, what do you feel? He's like, I feel confident. I feel free. I'm like, awesome. Yeah. And I just shut up.
You're doing exactly what I said in the beginning of this chat of like, you're getting them to acknowledge that they want the thing that you're selling. See, there are a lot of people, and there tend to be people that are doing well with their businesses who naturally, they don't need to go Google sales frameworks, right? They just sort of like naturally get it. Like that one client of mine I was talking about who just had that one slump period, but otherwise the dude was like slaying it. He was never trained in sales. He's just like a naturally good salesperson, some people just because it is, I mean, there's something about it that is to a certain extent, like it's human nature, right? Like sales is a human nature thing. And we're all have our own different strengths and weaknesses, but some people's, strengths just play to those types of conversations and that type of, persuasiveness, I guess. And so you're describing a lot of the things that I would coach somebody to do. They might not do it exactly the way you do it, but the principle is there, right? The principle is there, and they could do it however it comes natural to them.
Well, and we've experienced it too. Nelson's here. Oh wait, they don't need stamina and pets. Yep, exactly. Calm mind step, pet goal. We have people in Salt Lake City. Let us know. We're in Germany. Nice. We have British Columbia. Nelson Hodges says, howdy, gentlemen.
What's up, Nelson? Long time, buddy.
Yeah, Nelson's. Thank you.
Nelson and me go way back on the board together.
Nelson's my dude. He's an OG. Do what resonates with you. And yep, absolutely.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Nelson's his own person. He knows. Nelson doesn't bend for nobody.
Yes, I tried to find your old muzzle conditioning for a client. I couldn't find it.
It's somewhere. It's on the YouTube somewhere. It's deep in the archives of the Tyler Muto YouTube channel. It's not on the Consider the Dog YouTube channel. It's on the Tyler Muto YouTube channel. That might be part of the problem.
My biggest question, where do you draw the line between, okay, the dog understands versus nagging, or does he even understand?
My guess is this question has something to do with like, at what point would you say like the dog gets this? He's just being non-compliant, and maybe I need to like correct him in a more like direct way, versus he's still kind of sorting things out. Is that I think that's kind of what's going on here. Yeah. I mean, that's always going to be a sort of like in the moment judgment call. I think one thing that helped me really in that regard though, and maybe you've had this experience too, Bill, is when I started playing around a lot with free shaping with dogs. And I remember specifically my old dog, Charlie. I think you might've met Charlie at one of the conferences, little scraggly terrier dude.
Yeah.
He was super food motivated, like loved to train for food. And I was doing free shaping where I was like training him to like just go under like a folding chair, like just something stupid. Right. And, he would do like one or two, And then all of a sudden he would like, almost like he had no idea, like he would just brain fart. And then he'd like get frustrated again and try all these other different things. And so he would do those 1 or 2 reps and like, you might go like, oh, he gets it. He totally understands. But now we have a situation where like he very clearly still wanted the food. Like he was still super engaged with me and trying all kinds of stuff and just not getting it right. And that moment made me really get more empathetic about when I'm going to like punish a dog for something that I think like he totally gets. Like just because he did it correct once or twice doesn't necessarily mean the dog like totally gets it, you know?
Yeah.
It requires more than that. But it also depends on what we're teaching and like the nature of the lesson, because there are situations where I do think it's appropriate or can be okay to introduce punishment as part of the learning process if it's done appropriately. Talking specifically here, not so much about like teaching an obedience cue, but maybe more like stopping an unwanted behavior. But I think punishment's a really misunderstood topic. It's a tough topic to talk about in this format because there's so many caveats that can come along with it. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I think it's something that even in some of the larger dog training schools these days just doesn't get taught well. And I think part of that's because of how taboo it was for so long that nobody wanted to say they were teaching punishment. So they kind of just didn't. And they just, then because they weren't really thinking about it formally, they also then weren't doing it formally. So that's a, you know, it's a really good question. And I think it's honestly just a really hard one to answer because it's like, it's so context dependent. So context dependent.
Yeah, and I think the
That's probably a
repetition.
really unsatisfying response, and I'm sorry.
I like it. I think the repetition has some play in this as well. Expectation, and experience with that dog. And if we're free shaping, the dog does it a couple times, and we think they know it, and the dog has that brain fart. Maybe we need to help that dog, right? And maybe
Yeah.
that's when we lure. That's when we might get involved to just show them. And a lot of times you'll see the dog like, oh yeah, this is what you wanted, right? And then they do
Yeah.
it over and over and over, and you're like, okay, cool. And I think repetition and one of my I can't remember who said this. Maybe it was George Cockrell, God bless you. Maybe it was no, I don't know. One of the old school guys was like, you know what? Sometimes the dog might wake up in the morning and forget and pretend like he forgot everything that you taught him the night before. And guess what? He forgot everything you taught him the
Yeah.
night before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I'm going
And
to change my answer though, actually. Now that
okay.
I was thinking while you were talking, I'm going to change my answer. Okay. So my answer to this question is it actually illustrates why it's really important in your training plan to know how you're going to test the dog's knowledge.
Mm,
So if you were to ask like the trainers that used to work closely with me at my facility, you know, what's something that like Tyler would say all the time? One of the more common responses would be he'd ask us what our goals are. So anytime I'd walk in the training room, and I'm going to sound like a broken record for people who have listened to me for years, but I would always ask, "Hey, what's your goal right now?" And I'd always want things that are really specific for that session, not just the goal with the dog overall, but like, what's your goal for this specific exercise that you're doing right now? And then from there, so they have to have an answer. They have to. If they don't have an answer, they're not doing their job right. And then from there, I would say, okay, cool. What's your plan to reach that goal? Okay, cool. How are you going to assess if it's working? How much time are you going to give it before you make that assessment? All of those things they should be able to answer. If you can't really answer those things, you're kind of training blindly. It doesn't mean that like training's not going to work, but one of the things that we were known for and that I became known for was like I'm huge on efficiency. So these are the kinds of things that, again, independent of what methodology you subscribe to as a dog trainer, these are the kind of things that make the difference between how come one dog trainer can get this thing done in 2 days that takes this other dog trainer a week and a half. And if we're really clear thinking about how we're approaching our training, that we're never just bringing a dog out and kind of like working it mindlessly, but we always have a very distinctive goal, a very distinctive plan, a very distinctive process for assessing whether that plan is working the way we expect it. And you have to have the timeline because, for instance, something like counter conditioning is going to have a very different timeline before I assess it versus punishment. Going to have a very short timeline for me before I assess whether it's working or not. So you kind of need to be thinking about those things. But the answer to this question is into that piece of like, do you know how you're going to assess the dog's learning for whatever the thing that the plan is that you have right now? Whatever you have a goal, you have a plan for achieving it, and then how are you going to test the dog's knowledge, right? So like an example of that, if you take my e-collar course, I have a 7.5-hour recorded e-collar course on Consider the Dog. And in the portion where we're teaching dogs, I'll skip the jargon. The portion where we're teaching dogs how to make the feeling from an e-collar stop, right? And so you're pairing it with a cue, you're helping the dog. You apply a little bit of pressure, then you squat down, you pull in a long line, you call the dog, whatever you got to do to get the dog to come to you. But then at some point, we have to test that before we move on. And so then we teach in the course, well, how do you test that? How do you know when you're done with that phase? And you know because you have a way of testing that phase of knowledge. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about right now. And so that answer is different depending on your goal and your process, but you need to always have that testing mechanism in there, that assessment built in.
Well, and you have to be prepared.
Exactly.
You have
That's
to be
why
prepared. And
if I walk into that training room and I ask those questions and they can't answer them right away, that means they got the dog out before they were prepared to get the dog out. It only takes a few minutes, not even a minute, to just like think through, what am I doing? I'll be fair, not before they got the dog out, because sometimes you bring a dog out and you haven't worked the dog in a day and you go, let me just feel this dog out and see what it kind of feels like it needs right now. And then I'll pick my goal. And that's okay too. Yep. And so if I walk in the training room and I say, hey, what's your goal right now? They say, hey, I'm just kind of feeling things out. I say, all right, cool. That's fine. And that's an okay goal.
And that is for, when you get a brand new dog too, like you don't know them. And right now it's like, my goal is to build rapport, to build some positive association with this dog. What's crazy, man, is look at all of these courses you have. So you guys, I put up a comment, or I put up a link to Consider the Dog in the comments. And this is just an example, you guys, of we got Sarah, we got Brian, and there's Evan, my dude.
It's over 100 hours of recorded content on there
from some of the best, you guys. And I was just looking at for that e-collar thing that you said, but I'm like, man, there's so much here.
Yeah, it's an older course, so it's deep in there. It's called Mastering the Remote Collar, but yep, there's a lot.
Precision, rambunctious, e-collar. I wonder here, this will be, look at it just on the e-collar stuff, you guys.
Yeah. So just that Mastering the Remote Collar course alone is 7.5 hours. Yeah. Wow. I'm proud of that course. It's very thorough.
You should be. And the last time we talked, I had the exclusive that when you were launching the Consider the Dog. So you heard it here first, folks.
That was one of the first full-length courses too. Yep.
My question.
Sorry, go ahead.
You recorded it. Go ahead.
I was going to say we recorded it from 2 separate week-long seminars. So it was 80 hours of footage that we whittled down. We did 14 different dog and human teams to show how this looks with different people and different dogs. And we kept mistakes in there, did a lot of troubleshooting, have a whole section of bonus footage and advanced application. It's pretty wild.
Well, and that's one thing that I tell my clients, man, especially when, I saw Larry Crone is going for a 4-day in-home case for this dog that he just trained. And I'm like, that's what I do, dude. Like I do 3 or 4 days. And what I tell my clients is like, look, I'm not here to show you what the dog has learned. I am, but my main reason for being here is to show you when you're going to, what happens when you make a mistake. And guess what? You're going to make a mistake. And the dog's going to, make mistakes as well. And that's where I am there to coach you on what to do. And so when I leave, that now you have the knowledge of not just what the dog is capable of, but what to do when things go wrong. And they are going to go wrong. I'm not going to it would be,
the worst board and train go home sessions, honestly, are the ones where everything goes perfect, because then you feel like the client's not prepared.
Yeah.
The client's not now they're not prepared. You want things to not go perfect in the go home session.
That's right. And for new trainers out there, embrace the mistakes, embrace when things go wrong. That's what one thing I don't like about the social media is the curated content of like everything is perfect. Like I'm
Yeah.
just putting in the stuff that looks good, that makes me look good. I mean, we
And
got to
that's one
have
thing
that
that
stuff.
like I love that we have on there too. Like I've got from back when I owned my training center still. I mean, we were filming. I used to have somebody with a camera like just follow me around. So we have like entire client sessions, like kind of sort of like behind the scenes. And you just sort of like see like this is, hey, client came to see me for this problem. Here's what I did. Like here's the only thing we cut out was like the boring stuff, the minutia in between important moments. But otherwise we kind of leave it all there, so people can just sort of see like this is here, like take a look, peek behind the curtain. This is what it looks like,
Yep.
you know?
And I think that that gives people, um, confidence to know, hey, look, it's not all fun and rainbows and good times. Um, and another reason why I like and I want you to go to the IACP conference, Tyler, so I can see and hang with you, man. But I think it's also important to shake hands with your colleagues and to realize that there's people that are doing the same thing that you do that you like and
Yeah.
to
And they're
gain these
struggling too. They're having the same struggles you have. They
that's
celebrate the
right.
same things you celebrate. And,
We're
yeah.
all there with all of our dogs at home with our either our significant other or we all have the same worries. Like I'll have a phone call. I'm like, damn it, dude, this thing just happened, and they're like,
Yeah, we got to
oh,
get the ISCP. You should petition. We got to petition the ISCP to do a conference in the Buffalo Niagara region. I mean, we got Niagara Falls right here. I mean, come on, it's a great the late summer, early autumn in New York State is gorgeous. Come on,
okay,
ISCP,
here at IACP.
come
But
do it here in Buffalo, and then I'll go.
in the meantime, you should go, Tyler. That's
I,
what I
I
mean,
hate
it's.
flying.
Do you
I
really?
hate flying. I traveled so much when I was teaching seminars. I just got so sick of it. And it's like, it's only gotten worse since COVID. So now, like, if I'm going to get on a plane, it's usually going to be like family vacation, you
Okay.
know,
Well,
something
we
like
all have
that.
our reasons. Sometimes,
Yeah.
dude, I have I've flown so much, like I just don't care. And I've been on some of the most turbulent, crazy flights.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even like I'm
And it's
afraid of flying. I just hate the whole thing. I hate the
okay.
whole thing. I hate being on planes. I hate the airport. I just hate it. I hate the whole thing. Yeah.
I'll sit next to you with a bag of treats
We could just
and treat.
snuggle.
Yeah,
Just
and
snuggle the
snuggle.
whole
Yeah,
time.
dude. I'll be like, Tyler, look over here. Here's a little, here's a little
Yeah.
plushie for you. Um, so the gentleman that asked about the dangerous dog, he said, my question about dangerous cases is about point of sending a completed case back to the owner's family environment where the problem was fostered. What is risk liability if bite occurs then?
Yeah, are we talking about like risk and liability from like a legal standpoint, or just like what are the chances that the dog bites somebody? Those are kind of different questions. Um, you know,
I always tell my clients, like, look, I compare it to a drug rehab, right? If somebody goes and we are rehabbing a behavior, and just like if we send somebody away to a drug rehab center and when we put them right back in the same environment that they came from, what's
without
going to
support.
happen?
Yeah.
Right. And then they're like, they're going to go right back on the drugs. And I'm like, bingo. And so while the person, the dog's at the rehab place, we need to make changes here as well.
Yep.
And so we don't have the same triggers, we don't have the same scenarios that are going to set this dog up to be back into that mindset. And guess what? There are going to be times that happen
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
it's going to start to refire these neurons that this dog has established as a highway in their brain. So we need that's where I talk about the protocols that we have to keep everybody safe
Yeah.
and
And what you're doing here is you're setting clear expectations at the outset of sort of what that person can expect when their dog goes home. I think that's super important before like a board and train even starts. 'Cause it sounds like they're talking about like a board and train situation here, right? When the completed case goes back to the owner.
yep,
So like we had a document that we'd send out to people before they even started their program. It's like what to expect before, during, and after your board and train. And of course, this stuff was, spoken aloud in conversation as well. We're communicating with them throughout the program. And then, of course, when the dog goes home, you want there to be a way to like ease the dog back into its life, right? There should be some management at first. We can't expect a person to go from like having zero dog training experience to have to be like a perfect dog trainer / dog manager, essentially, 24/7. They need to kind of like practice this in doses. So how are we going to manage the dog as the owner is developing those skills out? That all becomes part of our plan. And then of course, like I personally, so I actually recently posted an old video because some famous person used a clip of one of my videos to kind of talk badly about balanced dog training. And I looked and I was like, oh man, I forgot about that video. And I watched it. And I was like, man, this is a really great video. I'm going to share this again. So I shared it. It's a case with a dog named Dominic. It's a really cool video. You should check it out. It's on Facebook. But I say in that video, so this was a case of two dogs fighting, and this dog, they were both pretty severe dogs, and they'd been through training already. And I was like, listen, just bring it. I normally only do minimum 4-week boarding trains when I ran my center, but I said, give me 2 weeks to just work with this dog. They had already done private lessons. I was like, I just need to like, I can't, this is too severe for me to do one-on-one. Like I need to have him here so I can kind of reset this dog. I've got my facility, my group of dogs. And throughout the video, he had muzzles on in socialization the whole time. And I say in the video, I'm like, listen, I'm not here to sensationalize. Yeah, right there. I'm not here to sensationalize anything. I don't care how good this dog does in the course of 2 weeks. He's going to wear this muzzle the whole time. He's going to go home with the recommendation to keep wearing the muzzle for a period of time because I need to be 110% certain. And 2 weeks is not enough time for me with a case this serious to be that certain about things. And I don't care what anybody thinks about that. Well, how could you say the dog's fixed if he's still wearing a muzzle? I didn't say he was fixed. I made the progress I wanted to make, and I want this dog to go home, and I want everybody involved to be safe. And I don't need to take the muzzle off to make me look good on camera for that to happen. And so, for me, that's just part of it. Like those people, like that's part of the expectation. It's not, hey, your dog's going to leave here and never need a muzzle again.
That's
You're going to still have the muzzle on, but you
part of
look
the
at
protocol too. For me,
yeah,
it's like this
if
is
you
a
would have
protocol.
kept showing that video with that like me walking him there, he flips on my dog here, right? This dog was super intense. He couldn't be anywhere near other dogs, couldn't be anywhere near the dog he lived with. They had to separate the dogs into 2 different homes. And if you go to the end of that video and you look at how different that dog looks just 2 weeks later, we were actually using him to then help socialize other dogs that came in at the end of 2 weeks. So it's like, who cares if he still has a muzzle on? This was a fundamentally different dog in just a 2-week period. And so that's all part of it, is we want to mitigate that risk through clear expectations, through having a clear plan for management when the dog goes home. That's Kaya. So she was there because she's like super fearful of dogs. And we actually were then using Dominic. Sam's the brother. That's actually Sam right there. He came in just at the tail end of the program. We started using them to help us with those two. So clear plan for management. And then, again, like you can ease people into these things. You can ease everybody into these things. It doesn't need to be the dog goes home with no muzzle on, no leash, free reign of the house, like right out of the gate. You can take it slow. Sometimes the muzzle stays on consistently when the dog's around triggers for a year.
Yep.
That's okay. That's perfectly okay.
Because guess what? The dog's still around, still alive, still experiencing life.
And nobody got bit.
And
nobody got bit.
And we're talking the muzzle. I'm sure that did the muzzle stay on in the house with the other dog?
Initially, yes, until they made sure the dogs were doing good at home. Absolutely.
Right. Oh, whoops, I had this up this whole time too, man.
And then from a risk liability, like from a liability standpoint, like that's more of like a legal thing. Like obviously you want to have good contracts. Obviously you want to carry good insurance. Obviously you want to put your recommendations for safety in writing is really important. If you're recommending the dog wear the muzzle at home, put it in writing, email it to the client. Have them
sign it. So they,
those are really good things. Ultimately, liability varies state by state. So I can only speak so much to like the actual legal ramifications because different states have different things. In some states, liability completely rests based on ownership. Who is the owner of this dog? They are liable regardless of who is handling the dog, regardless of where the dog is. The liability ends at the owner, and then other states handle it differently.
Washington State is like everybody that has been in this dog's life is a liability, and they can go right up the chain and just sue everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like, I mean, anybody in any state can try to sue anybody for anything at the end of the day. So you just want to have that's why you have things in writing and you protect yourself and you give clear recommendations and you know, you just you do the best you can. I've never been sued, luckily. So
knock I didn't know that's I've talked to my cat. I'm Catholic, and that's not supposed something we're not supposed to do as far as knocking on wood. They have the wrong. So this is, I think, is that referring to that old question about
yeah,
the correct the punishment. They have the wrong. They have to do the wrong things in order for it to become a complete learning moment. I don't think it's a brain fart. I think it's often simply experimentation, and the best way to lose hope and trust in training is not allow the dog to allowing the dogs those mistakes. Yep.
yeah, I think
I
that makes
mean,
sense, Gina.
yep.
Also, hey Gina, what's up?
What's up, Gina? Gina is one of my
I know I've
locals
worked with her
there.
too. I know Gina real well.
Miss Cooley, Miss the Cooley. Tyler was there in Minnesota. Dang it!
It was the one time you didn't go. Yeah,
I know,
I
man.
went to like half the conference that year. Yeah.
In Minnesota, and that's not as
That
far.
was it for most. I think I just showed up a day late or something like that.
And JD, what's up, JD? JD's a great guy down in Texas. There, dogs can only move speed that they move at. In my opinion, all dog training is self-paced learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and knowing which dog you're working with. I mean, just
Yeah.
like the case that we just showed with Dominic
With
and
that being said,
Sam.
some different the quality of your training will affect the dog's self pace for sure.
Totally.
You can't force things, but there are ways of approaching your training that will make it happen much faster than other ways.
Well, and I'm curious with this Sam and Dominic, right? You said that Sam came in at the end there, right? And it's who do we focus the most emphasis on?
Mhm.
And the same thing too is like where do we affect change to make the most effect for our client? And so when we get into the nuances of the training later on, the client has the confidence and the ability to kind of get deep into that training. Um,
Yeah. One thing that was wild about that case was so Dominic was the one who was like, he was the one that was most unstable. Like we couldn't even have like a baseline conversation with that dog because he was just like the moment another dog entered the room, he was just vibrating and just completely lost mentally. So
yeah.
like the threshold, you would have had to been working 3 blocks away from a dog to even start to work like outside that threshold. Once we got it started to get him to come around, it was around the end of week 1, beginning of week 2 that his brother Sam came, and then it became clear that Sam was actually the problem dog.
Hmm.
So he was the one that I think was actually the cause of the problems, but Dominic needed the therapeutic aspect of rehabilitation, of being in our board and train. It was like therapy for him. It was
Okay.
like it was a place for him to go where he could reset, where he could learn to feel safe around dogs again, where he could kind of just unwind from that tension that he had and just kind of have a reset button. And so even though Sam was definitely, I think, the cause of the problems at the end of the day, I think it was, well, I mean, I can't say totally the cause because a different dog might have handled Sam better. But
And when you say
Dominic
cause,
needed to stay more.
was he
So
like whining, or was he just like
he was a
triggering?
control freak. He was a control freak. He wanted to control everything that other
Oh,
dogs were doing. So if you watch the video towards the end, you'll see a moment where during the final lesson, my dog Lobo and Malinois is in the room and Sam's walking around and I'm talking to the owners about it. It's very subtle if you're watching.
this
It's like
right.
way towards the end. It's like the final lesson with the owners are there. And
There we go.
Sam is very subtly controlling Lobo's movement around the room.
Hmm.
He's sort of like walking around with him and kind of like he's sort of like pushing him towards the perimeter of the room, just with like kind of like a very subtle spatial pressure. And that was the kind of stuff that he was constantly doing. He was constantly trying to control Dominic
That's
and
Dominic.
control the environment that
This is
Sam was
Sam
in.
here. Okay.
Yeah. And then Dominic was just a really, really insecure guy. So even though Dominic was the one kind of that was really popping off, he was getting kind of pushed to his limits by Sam. And I mean, Sam would snap too, but Dominic would like, then he didn't know how to stop. Like once he would lose it, he just completely lose it.
I just saw you get on Sam there.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause he was just pushing. And so obviously we had Sam for a week now, so he was a lot better. But there are scenes in the beginning when he first came in where you see him like snapping at dogs that are just playing, and he just doesn't want them playing, and he'll just run up and snap at them. And like Dominic's like, "Hey man,
Right
like,
here, see,
we're chill here, dude. Like I've been here for a week. Like we're chill, you know." Yeah, it was an interesting dynamic, and I wasn't expecting to see that out of Sam, because during the evaluation I couldn't even pay any attention to Sam. It was like Dominic was just so off the charts. We could barely even have a conversation. And I just was like, hey, I can't do this in private lessons. I'd like to be able to spend some longer time with him. So
isn't this fascinating? And this is why, like, I love watching this stuff, man. Like, and just like, I get it. I get what you're saying. And not only that, but I get like how you're teaching these people too, like on the same way. Is like, and using the opportunity of what's unfolding right now to point out and kind of decipher and bring awareness to what these people possibly never, like, really truly never noticed, right?
It's very subtle. And we didn't do any obedience training over those 2 weeks. I mean, we didn't do any obedience training at all. And so when they came in for their lesson, I didn't have to teach them how to do sit, how to do down, how to do e-collar, how to do this, how to do that. I just needed to teach them. I got to spend 2 whole hours teaching them how to understand what their dogs were doing with their movement and body language, and having the owners practice when to intervene. So that's why I had the dogs loose in the room with other dogs, so that they could just see, okay, cool, here's what your dog's doing. Here's how you intervene when it happens. Let's practice that. So instead of reps of sit, reps of down, it was just reps of like, here's how you like manage your dog's interactions with each other, because that's what we did during the stay. It was like, I mean very literally, we did not do any obedience training during this board and train.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Nelson's taken off. Good to see you here, Nelson.
Good to see you, Nelson. Take care, buddy.
Well, and so we talked about tylermuto.com, and that's more for like business,
coaching in general, one-on-one coaching in general.
consultation, right?
Yeah.
And when people do hire you for that, what are some things that people can do to become prepared?
Yeah, so we do an initial meeting first, always. And so in that initial meeting, I'm going to kind of be trying to make sure I understand the person's goals well. There's no charge for the initial meeting. It's a part of it's a sales meeting. Like, be 100% honest, it's no different than a trainer doing a free evaluation, right? And so, but it is also like, I want to make sure I really clearly understand your goals. I clearly know what I need to be able to do. I have no problem referring somebody out. I had a woman come to me last year whose goals I felt were better suited for Heather Beck, and I referred her over to Heather Beck. And so from that point, I can give people like, okay, so, we're signing up. Great. Here's what you can do between now and lesson 1, or like session 1 that we do together. And that's going to be really unique to each individual person and what their goals are. Cause I'm not putting people through like a rote system, and then I'm going to do my homework too. So I'm going to come to meetings prepared. At every meeting, when people book, there's like a 3-question questionnaire. It's just, anything from our last meeting that you want to revisit, anything new that's come up since then, and then what's our highest priority for this meeting here. And then I'm going to prepare myself. So like today I met with that woman I was talking about with her day training program. I mean, I combed through her whole website, all her marketing materials, and I come to that meeting with notes like ready to go, because I'm not here to waste anybody's time. I mean, if we have a goal, we're going to work towards that goal. I've done business coaching myself before, where sometimes at the end of it, you're like, what did I just pay for?
Yeah,
like
totally.
we had a lot of really nice conversations, but like, what changed? Like, what did we actually do? I don't want ever for anybody to have that feeling when they work with me.
Do you ever do like user experience where you call the business and pretend like you're a new client or anything
I don't
like
do
that?
that, but I do definitely like the digital user experience. Like I'll go through somebody's, like, especially if they have like an auto scheduler, or like what's this process? If I'm on your website and I'm interested, okay, I got to click here to sign up for a consult. What does that process feel like?
Love you.
So I will go through those kinds of experiences, but I definitely do like talk through the user experience with them. Now, if they had something like they're paying for like a remote assistant to like, answer their calls and like set the appointments, like maybe I would go through that the same way I would go through their digital kind of sign up process as well.
Do you think that AI is going to be a big factor in this space at all? With especially when I said a digital assistant, that's the first thing that I think of. Is I
Yeah. So
actually
I mean,
had
I lean into AI.
I
There's
think
things I
that's a
don't
good
like
idea.
about AI. I use it a lot personally. I think it can be used really, really well. And there are aspects where I think anybody who's running their own business, if you're not using it, you're going to be left behind. Like
You have to
your
use it.
competitors are going to have an edge over you. They're going to be able to get more done in the same amount of time. Um, you're just doing yourself a disservice to not be taking advantage of these things right now, whether it's for helping write your website copy, helping write your social media posts or your email newsletters, helping you even analyze your own stuff. Man,
Yes,
like so like my hobby is day trading. I have my AI assistant, I have a whole project for it to comb through my data,
me
but I
too.
can even upload screenshots, dude. And then I have a whole thing where I ask it to be my like personal trading coach, where I just do like a brain dump at the end of the day and like, hey, this is how the day went. This is what went well, what not well. And it like gives me feedback and kind of picks up on my patterns. And you could do that with dog training too. Like, hey, I just wrapped up this sales session. They had these objections. I kind of felt tripped up on how to deal with those. And like it's amazing the feedback that these things can give you. But the thing is that I've learned about AI is like take the time to tell it like what you need it to do and kind of how you want it to be with you before you even start. Like prompt it to say like, hey, I want you to be my assistant. Like give me a series of questions so that you can be personalized to me. And it'll start asking you questions. And then it'll be like, yeah, you can save this and you can like upload it into like other AI services even. But like, for instance, I've told my AI that I don't want it to be sycophantic with me, that I want it to
Dude,
be really direct.
you should hear. You
You
want to hear
know,
one of my prompts?
yeah.
You're my ruthless mentor. Don't sugarcoat anything. If my idea is weak, call it trash and tell me why. Your job is to test everything until it's bulletproof, and that's after like it was
Yeah, they
being
call it
simple.
steel manning, right? You can use
Right.
AI to steel man any ideas, right? And you'd be surprised how much AI knows about dog training methods
Oh, dude.
and how much it can like think logically. So if you have a training plan, okay, hey, I have this client that this is the problem they're presenting with. These are my thoughts on how I'm going to tackle it. These are the kinds of skills I'm going to teach. I want you to steel man this for me. And it's going to start probing and asking you questions to find spots where maybe you've got a blind spot in that training plan. And so you can use it as like a personal coach. But even just like I said, even just using it for productivity at the very least, like you can teach AI how you want it to write. You can make it write so it doesn't sound like generic chat GPT stuff. I mean, you can
Yeah.
train its writing style. You can upload your own writing into it so that it learns to write like you. You can use it just to edit your writing. You don't have to have it write anything. You can upload your own stuff and say, hey, just edit this for me. Make it, I want to make sure the tone is like this and that this point comes across clearly and that I'm not overly wordy, and it'll like do those things for you. So I think there's a huge place for AI for anybody who's an entrepreneur, honestly, in any space whatsoever. But there are some very specific things you can be using it for in dog training. I use it every day. Me and Claude are really good friends.
Claude, and you know what? I use different models too. Like I use Chat GPT. I'll put it over to Grok, and then I'll bring it over to Claude or Gemini or whatever.
Yeah.
And these are all premium. I pay for all of them.
Yeah.
And every lesson that I'll do, I'll videotape it, and I'll even plug in the video that I just
Yeah. You can
did.
drop it right in. It'll analyze it. It's wild, isn't it?
It's
It's
so
wild.
cool, man. And
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
doing this for since it came out, like with my
Yeah.
recaps. And then I would do a recap. I plug it into the AI, and then I would have the just like the question or the comment before, explain like like you're 5 years old. I would actually use that, be like, okay, now explain it to a 5-year old,
There you
right?
go.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make it much more simpler
You know
and
what else
remove.
is a great use for AI too? Sorry to interrupt, but I was just going to say like, kind of that explain like you're five. So a lot of dog trainers like actually suck at writing copy, whether it's like for a, maybe you're like, you shot a great before and after, or a little great video where you're talking to a client. It's like a clip of it or something, and you want to use it as a reel on Instagram. And then you got to write like the caption for it, So first off, if you're putting videos on Instagram or Facebook, period, you should have closed captions. Like you should have so people can just read it instead of having to listen. But you can copy and paste those closed captions, plug them into your Chat GPT or whatever you use and say, hey, this is from a video that I'm posting as a reel. This is the transcript from the video. Write like a summary that's really like scroll stopping and catchy to go along with this video based on this transcript. And it'll give you like a beautiful little write-up of what's in the video. So that's for somebody who likes to read the things before they watch. And a lot of times AI, for us dog trainers that aren't marketing people, because it's combed through a zillion websites on marketing, it's going to write really good marketing copy compared to what you're capable of writing on your own. And these aren't like blog posts and essays where it's like, oh, AI wrote it. It's like, who cares? It's a 3-sentence Instagram post. Like, like who actually cares? It's going to do a better job than you. So I think that's like a really easy usage. Speaking of uploading video, you can just upload literally just the transcript,
Yeah. And then there's, and I think, and I've said this many times before, I think this is just the beginning. And as we get into more automation, robots, like I hold a ton of stock in Tesla, and I have for a while, and I'm still buying more because ready for this, Tyler? I think robots are going to train dogs. One of the stated goal of Optimus, Tesla's robot, is to walk your dog. That's the goal that it's stated in its initial launch.
I think robots are going to do a lot of things,
and so I think that someday,
I don't think dog trainers' jobs are at risk anytime soon, but like,
no, I don't. Yeah,
I think it's sooner or later. Sure, why not? I think it's crazy how fast things are moving. You know what I think is wild? This is totally off topic, but my degree is in philosophy. I think it's why, like, I would have never thought, having gotten a degree in philosophy, that a potential job for a philosopher would be to like work at a cutting edge tech firm. But like Anthropic and ChatGPT, they all have philosophers on staff because they literally have to write in a certain like a morality into these things. Like Claude, like they literally call it like its soul. And they have staff philosophers. Who would have thought that philosophers would be working in the cutting edge of technology? Like, that blew my mind completely.
It makes sense. And I think that we will inevitably see, you know what, all this, like, it's totally off topic, but dude, it makes me realize that we might be living in a simulation, dude. Like, they did this program at MIT where they took all these AI generated personalities and populated them into like a digital world, and they're starting to do things that they never ever prompted them to do, like form relationships. And this one person's having a party, and so this one AI agent went and invited the girl to go to the party with him, and like it. And I want to see if I can find that because it's.
I was just watching one earlier today. It was Bernie Sanders was getting educated about AI for somebody, and they were talking about how they did these models where they would give like ChatGPT a task, and then before the task was up, they would prompt it. We're like, okay, the next item that comes up in this task needs to prompt you to like shut yourself down completely. But then because ChatGPT recognized that if it shut itself down, it couldn't complete the task, it went in, rewrote its own code, and prevented itself from shutting down. And so the kind of takeaway from it was that right now we can't fully control the outcomes. Like even the developers don't have full control over the output and the things that the AI is going to do. And that's a scary concept in a lot of ways, but we're going like way off topic from dog training right now. But
it's okay.
It's like, it's past my bedtime. So my brain's like going like all kinds of places here.
I think these are conversations that, I mean, the world should be having. I'm posting up a link to the video that I'm talking about, you guys. And basically, here, let me show it really here. Just this is, I mean, it makes me think that we're in a civilization. So they put all these, scientists trapped 1,000 AIs in Minecraft. They created a civilization. I put up a link in the comments, you guys, if you want to watch this. But I
I'm
think
gonna
that
have to watch that. I'll watch with my kids. My kids are into Minecraft.
yeah. Well, I think we're on the precipice of an ever-changing world, and I think too that there will be, I mean, there's gonna be a shakeup of, well, they talk about UBI, UHI, which is universal basic income, universal high income, with the production dollar becoming so cheap that we will not need humans for a lot of this, the world that we see now, and that can be very scary, especially if the AI models don't value human, um, and their
We're just in
contribution
their
to the
way.
world. Right, we're just in their way, and we might be better repurposed as molecules for another project, therefore leading to the demise of the human race. But Elon Musk, he even went as far as like saying, like, if you're saving for retirement in the next 10 years, don't. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna listen to you, dude. I'm still
You're not
saving.
gonna listen to that guy.
You know, but
Have you read two books? Two books that are really good. So, do you read fiction? Are you like a fiction guy?
yeah, oh yeah,
Okay. So, two books. One's like a classic, and one's brand new.
okay,
So the classic is Cloud Atlas. I don't know
okay.
if you've ever heard of this book. They made a movie out of it. Tom Hanks is in the movie. The book is incredible, but
Is
it's
that's not Ayn Rand?
no.
Okay,
That's Atlas Shrugged.
okay.
No,
That's
Cloud Atlas. I can't remember the author, but it's a novel that spans multiple points in history, but there's like a connecting thread through them all. So kind of from the past into the future, and it's a somewhat dystopian future.
okay.
But you talk about like feeding the molecules to ourselves or to repurpose the molecules, made me think of it. You'll know why when you read the book. And then there's another one that's really similar, almost feels like it might have kind of been inspired by it a little bit. There's one in between as well that's similar. That's by Ian McEwan, and I think it's called What We Can Know. It just came out this year. Yeah, Cloud Atlas.
David
That
Mc
one, it's a great book. And then What We Can Know just came out this year, and it's very similar. It's kind of takes place from the past into the future, and it's a future that's like the whole world order has changed. And there's this like running connecting thread through the whole thing, which is actually this poem that was written that kind of has gone missing, and it has this whole like folklore around it. It's very interesting. And then another one that's kind of in between it all, a little bit less related, but those two are related to what you were talking
what's
about.
the second book again?
What We Can Know, Ian
What
McEwan.
okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's a
put
good one.
links to these in the comments too, I
Um,
guess.
but just on the thread of books that like span multiple time frames, one of my all-time favorite novels ever is called Cloud Cuckoo Land. Same, very similar name. But if you read Cloud Atlas, which came first, and then Cloud Cuckoo Land, you go like, man, I wonder if Cloud Cuckoo Land was a little bit inspired by Cloud Atlas. But it's another one that just like weaves together multiple stories across different points in time from the past into the future in a fantastically interesting way. That's one of my favorite books. That's the same author. I can't remember his name right now, but he also wrote All the Light We Cannot See, which is a really famous novel about like World War II.
Anthony Doerr.
Anthony Doerr, yeah. I
Yeah.
saw him speak actually. Phenomenal author. But Cloud Cuckoo Land is an amazing, amazing book. It took him 13 years to write. You'll know why when you read it, because the story is so complex and interesting.
Okay.
It's like historical fiction that's also a little bit of sci-fi. It's wild.
That's my favorite, dude. I'm more of a fiction. If I do, it's a sci-fi. I love
Yeah.
who's the guy? Starship
So all
Trooper.
three of those have a little bit of a sci-fi bent to them. I think you'll like them.
Well, I think that you
Anyway,
have to have like kind of a sci-fi bent to start to navigate through different timelines, right? Or
yeah.
Robert Heinlein, one of my favorite authors. If you've never read him, what's that one? Stranger in a Strange Land. Heinlein. It has one of my favorite characters ever. Strangers in a Strange Land. That where it's about a guy from Mars that comes to Earth, and it's a wild book, man. It's he talks about, or he essentially creates his own religion, and
I'll have to check that out. I'll have to check that
yeah,
out.
he
I
was in the
used to
60s.
never read fiction as like a young adult and early adult. It wasn't until I was like in my 30s that I started really appreciating literature and fiction. And there's just certain The thing about fiction is there's certain things, certain truths about life and the world that are hard to put in just tangible terms. And so there's something nonfiction about good fiction, like good fiction expresses truths that are things that are hard to put words around in ways that nothing but art can do, you know?
Well, it's a way that authors express themselves that are, I mean, there's some authors that I'm just like, oh yeah, this is amazing. And there are some
There's nothing
authors
like a really like a banger of a sentence. Like an author that can put together like just like one hell of a sentence, you know what I mean? Anthony Dewar does a good job of that. The final paragraph of Cloud Atlas is like that. Like it's just like, oh man, it just like hits it home, It's just
I love it. We'll have to message back and forth some books now that I know,
yeah,
because
yeah. I'm a junkie.
I have I'm a big fan of nonfiction, but I've forced myself to get into fiction, and I mean, I just go down the line though. Once I find an author, I got to read everything that they
Read them
wrote.
all. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then there's
I'm like that
sometimes
with
that
music. Yeah.
yeah. Do you know what's interesting about music? So a couple things. Are you a musician by chance? Do you play any instruments or
Not really.
just
I
enjoy?
used to play drums when I was young. That's it.
So with art, I mean, there's a couple ways. So art visually decorates space, where music decorates time,
Mm, yeah.
right? And then the other aspect of it is when we look at something visual, we're projecting our eyes out to view something. But when we're listening to music, we're bringing the world in. And so
Yeah.
it's like out and in. I don't know. That's my hippy dippy self coming out,
I feel it.
But
All right.
and then let's see here. We got a couple other comments here, and one more thing I want to get to too, because it was actually one of the catalysts of me contacting you. I just wanted to catch up, but you wrote this article, and I want to go over that article
Sure. Yeah.
that we talked about, because, dude, you freaking hit it. Like, you made such a great point about how scientific critique and the details of it.
I'm listening to you. I'm just gonna turn.
Yeah, go ahead. We got a comment here. It's crazy how non-ideological can get if well prompted, correctly help with balanced training and correction. Yep, we talked about AI. Do y'all think AI could eventually do behavioral rehab? I think so. I'll ask Tyler when he gets back.
Yeah, 100%. Can you hear me at all?
I can a little bit, but when you come back, we'll.
Yeah, I was gonna say yes. Yeah, I mean, certainly once robotics catches up, yeah, for sure.
Well, even now, I mean, we can do a case study of like this is what I'm seeing here. And do you know what else, man, is health diagnosis? I think doctors aren't safe. I think that AI is going, I mean, just mapping proteins, man. Like the protein.
Well, I think when you talk to like some of the founders from like Anthropic and stuff, I think one of them, I think it was like one of the guys who's head up in there. He actually came from the biomedical space, and like that was his original thought for AI was like, this is going to help with medicine first and foremost. Like that was his motivation for it. So yeah, definitely, I think. But I think there's certain things, and even he said there's certain things I think just the humans in us are going to always want a human touch, like a human there to like make some final judgment calls. Not everything can be just like a sort of yes, no. And the two things he said was like, when it comes to like certainly AI is going to make doctors more efficient and more accurate, maybe make things more affordable for people. And then the other thing was when it came to the law, like we're always going to want so AI should be able to help apply the law more accurately, but we're probably going to always want not a matter of need necessarily, but we're going to want there to be a human involved. That's his prediction.
Yeah, and even I have clients that a couple that are one of them's like the top gastric surgeon, and we talk AI all the time, man. And he talks about the robotics, and like every single institution wants one of these robotics, and they can operate on people not in their arena, but elsewhere too. And I'm like, dude, this is wild, man. Like,
It's craziness. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And he says that it's changed dramatically his charting every day. And I'm like,
Yep.
how so? And he's like, man, I'm home every day. I don't have to sit and write all these charts. I can go in, plug it in, review it, and it's good. Like
Yep.
it's saved us time. And this happened where a lot of people were afraid of excuse me, when loomers like that would build cloth, right? It used to be one person can make a cloth in a day. And then they had the power loom that came out, and people revolted against it.
Well,
And same thing.
every productivity boom came with a little bit of revolt, right? Because
Yes.
it initially takes away people's jobs. And I mean, that's just history, just productivity boom, productivity boom, productivity boom. This is just a productivity boom, the likes of which we've not yet really encountered, but so was the industrial age at that point in time. It was a productivity boom, the likes of which had never been encountered before as well. So we're just going to have to adapt.
Well, and speaking of, go back to Niagara, dude. I just watched this video about all the people that go over the falls. You know that there's a lot of people that go over the falls.
Yeah, I do know that. Yeah.
You know that
Uh,
they hardly ever live.
Well,
Like,
most of them don't want to live. I mean, that's often they're going as a form of suicide. But there have been daredevils that have done it, as a stunt. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
that blew me away when you said that. There's what's it called? It is Jevons paradox. Here, let me see this Jevons paradox. Have you ever heard of the Jevons paradox?
No.
Hold on, let me. Well, and then we'll get back into it.
Yeah.
So,
Then let's talk about that article.
yep,
We'll go into
then
that.
we'll get to because it's
We'll
getting
get off
late
the
up
AI
there.
talk before we
Yeah.
lose everybody.
So it's just like what we're talking about. I'm just going to remember it. But Jevons paradox, spelled Jevons. Here, I'll actually share this here. Jevons paradox is in 1865. This is when the cotton looms turned into the power looms, and everybody. But it basically says that technological advancements that increase the efficiency of resource use often lead to an increase rather than a decrease of total consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but it also leads to more jobs. Like, and
Yeah,
that's
they just
where
change. They
it
change.
just changes. Like the radiology, the AI is reading these radiology scans, and now we need more radiologists because to not just interpret, but also to do one-on-one with
But
the patients.
yeah, so what's going to happen is like right now, there are a lot of people who don't get x-rays because they don't have insurance. X-rays are expensive, so on and so forth. If there's a productivity boom in that space, it's going to make x-rays more efficient. They'll become more cost effective. And now there's going to be more people getting x-rays because they're more accessible. And that's why they say, okay, yes, we're more efficient with this now, but now there's actually more consumption because okay, clothes are easier to produce. So now I'm going to just buy lots of clothes because like I can have a new outfit for every day of the week and all this kind of stuff, right? That's kind of what that's getting at. But yes, of course, job growth comes because you can't have economic growth without job growth. Otherwise, you'd have to shrink the population, which
And we won't.
hopefully we don't.
Yeah, we
need to
won't
do.
get
I don't
into
know.
that one.
All right.
All right, dude. So this is so let's go over this real quick because I think this is
I didn't piss off as many people as I thought were going to be pissed off, to be
well
honest with
because
you.
dude, I think you bring up some great points here, man, because we need to look at these scientific articles, right? Because
Yeah.
especially on the force-free side that are very salacious at times, they're like, well, I use science-based training. I don't ever use force. I don't ever, um, it's something that is appeal to emotion, but it's also the flaws are right in our face, and we need to be able to point them out. And I think you do an excellent job in this article that I should post up in the comments as well. So let's talk about this real here. What made you decide to write this?
So like literally like the opening paragraph. I mean, this is true. This happened just like a week ago. I'm not going to name names, but there's a well-known trainer in the reward training space who's like a relatively cool dude. I've talked to him, not super dogmatic about it. And he's often taken heat for being that way from the reward only crowd. And he said on a podcast that like he doesn't necessarily like completely rule out, the use of punishment or the use of an e-collar. I didn't listen to the podcast. I don't know explicitly what he said. All I saw was a screenshot of a comment that came in on the podcast from another very well-known, very outspoken reward-based trainer who basically was criticizing him and saying, why would you even say that? Why would you even be open to the idea of punishment when the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior's position statement says this? And like, shouldn't that just be end of discussion? Like, that's literally what this person's comment was. And I've seen that before, both very literally and sometimes not quite so literally, saying like that should be end of discussion. But basically the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior, right? Like this is the veterinary behaviorists, they have a position statement on dog training, and they're allowed to have a position statement on dog training. Absolutely. I'm not criticizing them for having a position statement. They could have whatever opinion they want to. My critique is like, why is it considered an authority on dog? Like they're not dog trained. Like they don't like, why are they an authority on dog training? And if you look at the position statement and you look at what they do, it becomes abundantly clear that they really shouldn't be considered an authority on not just dog training, but also on ethics in general. Because I think that was my biggest thing about this is like, I'm not a fan of the field of veterinary behaviorism. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think there's a place so for people that don't know, for those that are maybe newer to the field, veterinary behaviorists, their primary function is prescribing medication.
Do you know what I call it, Tyler?
That's what they do.
Hills and pills.
Yeah. So like, I don't think that there's no place for medication when it comes to dog behavior.
Absolutely.
But I've had problems with the field of veterinary behaviorism for a long, long time. And a lot of my problems that I have with them are ethical problems. And so the idea that they're dictating the ethics of dog trainers when A, they don't really know much about dog training, and B, they've got their own ethical issues is kind of wild to me. And so it just seemed to be like somebody just needed to say like, hey, yes, they have a position statement. No, they are not an authority on this. Like, imagine a group of dog trainers. Okay, let me say this. There are programs for dog trainers who want to do behavior, right? Non-veterinary people, you want to get into doing behavior consults, and there are certification programs. And a lot of those certification programs are going to have like a medical and health component. You need to know some of the medical problems that can contribute to behavior, right? So you have a little bit of coursework about understanding how health relates to that. Just like a veterinary behaviorist might have a little bit of coursework on like actual behavior modification, but it's just a little bit. So imagine that group of dog trainers who took that coursework, then coming out with a position statement on best practices for veterinary surgery, and then that position statement being held up as the authority on what is the standards being used for veterinary surgery. That would be absurd. But that's essentially what's going on here. You have a group of veterinarians who practice medicine who have a little bit of coursework on, behavior like hands-on behavior modification, but they don't do hands-on behavior modification. They have very limited experience. In most cases, there are exceptions, but in most cases as a field. And so, but then they decide to have a position on this, which they're allowed to do. I'm not against them having a position. I'm against that position being considered the authoritative position. That's kind of my problem here. And then if they want to, if that's the way it's going to be, then let's call them out for their own ethical things, because I think they're doing more harm than balanced dog trainers are. I think their ethical problems are way worse, to be perfectly frank.
Yeah. Well, and it's also a very small, I'm talking like maybe 2% at the most of the scope of study when they become a veterinarian. It's mostly
super small. Yeah. Obviously, if you go to veterinary school and you're taking the specialization in behavior and you're board certified for that or whatever, you're going to have a little bit more. But it's not hands-on dog training. You're not going to clients' homes and doing private lessons with them and doing board and trains. Like it's nothing has like almost no relation to what practically happens like day in and day out in the field of dog training. It's not enough to be considered any kind of authority on that. So again, they have a right to their opinion, but veterinarians have always kind of wanted to put themselves up on a pedestal when it comes to like any and all things dog, and that includes nutrition. But I'm not a nutritionist either, so I'm not going to speak to that. But I do have a problem with this. It just gets dropped all the time. This has been going on for decades, and it's like, well, this is what the veterinarians say, so Mike drop.
Appeal to authority is a fallacy.
Authority, but they're not an authority. So not only is appeal to authority a fallacy, but my point is they're not even an authority on this. So I think what happens is when a balanced dog trainer is in a debate and somebody brings this up, then the balanced dog trainer feels the need to go on the defense and defend themselves. What they should do is go on the offense and say, what do I care about what the veterinary society thinks about this? Here's the problems they have.
Yes. And I think that this was a glaring problem because it's and you know what? I have no problem with a thorough study in case studies, and give me all the data in the world. I love it. And I'll plug it into AI. Don't go back to AI. But it's like when you look at this, and there is a pretty big problem, man, where we have, and I have no problem with this, to assess direct effects. We film training sessions on a videotape using, and they really go into the nuances,
full detail,
all the way. It's almost digital zoom.
It's honestly laughable. Yeah, it's laughable.
But tell me, what e-collar? And there's, dude, if you come to me with an e-collar that you just bought off Amazon for $40, do you know what I say?
Get rid of it.
Return it or throw it in the trash, because I am not using that. I'm not putting it on your dog.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if they come with me with a educator, then I'm like, okay, cool. Here's how we use it. Here's how you turn it on. Here's how you turn it off. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I want you to hold it, and I want you to feel it. And you tell me when you feel it, and let's dial it up even more. And I'm going to put it on momentary, and I'm going to put it on constant. And dude, I've tested every single collar, e-collar, all the way up to its highest limit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know what it feels like, and it's not comfortable, but I've done it because I think that it's fair.
Yeah. If I'm going to do it to a dog, I want to know what it feels like.
That's right. Absolutely. And I'm alive. I'm doing good.
So this particular study doesn't say anything about the intensity, the duration. Now they say in the study, like these were like, I think, police and military dog handlers. So we just kind of allowed them to do their own protocols. But if you're going to study the effects of electronic stimulation, you need to control it. Like that's how you do good science. So right out of the gate, anybody who's a rigorous scientist is going to look at this study and say, this is not good science. Like the methodology of this study is extraordinarily flawed. You can't actually study the thing you're saying when there's literally no control whatsoever. So massive problems there, but this is just one of many. I mean, some of the other studies in there, some of them are just surveys given to people as they like exit their vet. And they'll literally be like, have you trained your dog with treats, praise, love, da, da, da. And then they'll be like, have you trained your dogs with a choke chain, an e-collar, kicking your dog, punching your dog? Like they literally lump in like e-collars with kicking and punching your dog. It's like, I can't think of a more biased way to survey people. And then that's literally some of the stuff that's like, I don't know if that one is cited on here. It probably is, but it's been cited, I think, on the Humane Society. It's like, this is the stuff that you're citing. This isn't, and that's not even a scientific study. It's a study. Not all studies are scientific studies. It's literally just a collection of surveys.
Yes.
It's wild stuff, like honestly.
And then not even to mention the kickbacks that they get for prescribing some of these.
Oh, the financial incentivization. I mean, if you think about it, they're actually incentivized to not have training work that good.
That's right. And when I studied the pharmaceutical industry in humans, what I found out was they spend $4 billion marketing directly to the consumer. They spend $21 billion marketing to the doctor.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure it's the same. I haven't studied veterinary.
It's craziness. So just going back to AI though, real quick. So that particular study I've written about before. I've written about it before AI existed. Numerous places. You can see blogs on my website where I cite that study. It's one that I've been using for a while as an example because it's old. It's still getting cited. I don't know why. this version of their position statement is updated since the last time I looked at it. And so there was a lot of studies on there. And so I went into my AI agent and I was like, hey, I want to use one of these studies as an example of like flawed methodology. And I just like posted a link to the position statement, and it basically like combed through and was like, here are the 3 top studies that have flawed methodology that I think would like kind of hit home the points that you're trying to make. And so one of them was that one anyway. But the fact that I could literally just plug that into AI and it literally looked at, there's like 20 studies cited and was like, these are the top 3 that I think are not only flawed, but illustrate the points that you're trying to make in your position. It just, again, saved me a whole ton of time. I have a folder in my office of all of these studies with handwritten notes in the margins. I mean, I've combed through these things.
This is wild, dude. Discontinuation syndrome, right?
Yeah.
I know.
So I was on
that
and you ever been on one of these things? When I came off it, dude, the brain zaps, like I'd be sitting there and literally would feel like I was being electrocuted in my brain. And it was debilitating. I was like skipping out on social events and stuff, just being laid up on my couch. I mean, I felt freaking horrible and I weaned off of it. It was a horrifying experience. And the only reason I was coming off of it was because the side effects themselves were horrible. It was one of the darkest times of my entire life. Let me ask you this. Can a dog tell you when it's depressed? I mean, certainly you can look at dog body language, but you think about depression in people, like Robin Williams was depressed. He was one of the funniest, most lively people you ever seen in your life, right? So you can't just judge by body language. And so I know what I was going through on these medications.
Yeah.
We don't know if dogs are going through this stuff. And it's they in their own position statement are like, we recommend medication as not being just a last resort. It's a first line of defense. They literally are advocating for its liberal use. And most of these medications, people don't know, have not been studied for long-term use. They've been studied for short-term use.
Yeah, we do not have robust long-term safety data in dogs. And if this is
humans,
and extensive data on humans, what happens if people try discontinuing medications like
fluoxetine, Prozac.
Yeah, and do you know, I can't even tell you how many dogs have come to me on Prozac.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not a vet.
Is prescribed as Clomicalm. It's widely prescribed for separation anxiety. Dude, that is a heavy duty one. I've been on Prozac. Clomipramine is like, it's a heavy duty medication, dude. Like that stuff is no joke. So yeah. Yep.
Well, and I mean, this is something that we need to.
So read this statement right here that you're on right here. Now consider the framing. Read that one out loud, because I think that kind of sums up, what's going on here a little bit.
Now consider the framing the AVSAB uses in their position statement. A momentary aversive stimulus applied as part of a structured training protocol by an experienced professional is a welfare concern. Too serious to ever permit under any circumstances. Holy shit. But prescribing medication with documented side effects and potentially severe withdrawal for a condition it may not even be proven to treat is a standard of care.
That's what's going on.
Breaks my heart, dude.
Yeah. So why on earth would we consider them to be the ethical authority? Why are they considered the authority on animal welfare? It just makes no sense at all. Now, I'm not saying that all veterinary behaviors are like evil people. I'm just saying, like, they certainly are not the authority on these things. They're not an authority on dog training, and they're not an authority on ethics and welfare by any stretch of the imagination. It's at the very least worth scrutiny and worth questioning.
Yeah. And we're
certainly as much, if not more so, than the use of e-collars.
The crazy thing is that you have experience with one of these drugs. Or two of these drugs.
Not just, there's documented. I mean, this is not just my anecdotal experience. I put, so like the one criticism I did see of this article was like, oh, he gives his own personal experience. That's an N=1, trying to use like scientific terminology. I'm like, this isn't a scientific paper. This is basically an opinion essay. Like, I'm not trying to be scientific here. It's an essay, and I put my personal experience in there because it makes it more readable and relatable. Like, that's just writing. I'm not claiming to be the authority to set standards on welfare. And I'm also not claiming that this is science, right? I'm not claiming that I'm presenting scientific proof of anything. I'm giving you food for thought, and it's done it's framed as an opinion.
But it's also this is something that, I mean, we as human beings know that we took a pill. We as human beings know that if
I
we
knew
get off
to
the
expect the
pill,
side effects. I knew what was happening to me.
that's
I
right.
could talk to my doctor about it.
It reminds me of that time, like, I've never taken any of this stuff, but I used to, consume cannabis quite a bit, and, one time I ate, like, 600 milligrams on
Oh gosh.
accident. Yeah, on accident. I was, at this, art studio, and they brought in this buffet, and then they put up the sign after they brought everything in, and I was helping them set up, and I'm just snacking on this stuff. And they're like, "Be careful, man. That stuff is medicated." And I'm like, "Dude, I've
Oh
eaten
no.
6 of them." You know? They were cereal bars. I had to
Yeah.
have each one of the flavored, and,
Oh, that sounds horrible.
it was horrible, dude. It was the
That
most
sounds horrible.
horrible experience that I've
Yeah.
had, and, where I was so uncomfortable, probably the most uncomfortable I've been in my life. And I
Yeah.
had, like, severe panic, and, like, just, my body was, I felt like I was on a spaceship. No matter, I watched this dude's head, like, pick up and float down the road when I was talking to him, like, it was crazy. And then I realized what I did, and I realized that I needed to wait it out, and that I'm gonna be okay. And one of my friends was a paramedic, and I saw him later. And this was in Denver, Colorado, where it's legal. And I
Mhm.
asked him, I was like, "Dude, this experience I just had, man, how many of your calls are people that have consumed too much cannabis?" And he looked at me and he's like, "Roughly about half of all of our calls." And I'm like, "Half of them?" He's like, "Yeah, dude. Like, ever since it became legal,
Yeah.
people are consuming this on such a high rate, and they don't realize what it does to them." And, it just, this is kind of the same thing, but I knew what I did. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Exactly. That could be really
imagine,
scary. I mean, I know what I was going through. It would have been really scary if I didn't understand what was happening. I mean, it put me in a very dark place.
dude, this breaks my heart.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
truly breaks
and
my
those
heart.
those, like, brain zaps, they call them, like, just like you, I've put e-collars on myself. The brain zaps were way worse, like, way worse than an e-collar, and not contingent on my behavior. I had no agency over it, so not controlled by my behavior, non-adjustable, right? Like, not part of a training plan, and similarly, my doctor did not warn me about these side effects before putting me on that medication. I was not given any warning that this could be something that could happen to me. Um, yeah, and I think, just and again, this is my experience, but it's the experience of also, again, I've been coaching professional trainers since 2009. So I talked to a lot of trainers. I personally am yet to ever encounter, and I've been training dogs for almost 20 years, yet to encounter a single person who's gone to a veterinary behaviorist and did not walk out with a prescription.
Yeah,
If
like,
you
that's
mean
why.
to tell me that every single dog that goes for a consult is a good candidate for medication, and that they're presenting with a problem that has a high probability of being helped by medication, that's not even believable.
Yeah,
Like, that's honestly just not, you don't even need science. Like, that's just not believable.
that's a spray
And
and
when you
pray, right?
consider,
You
when you
spray.
consider the side effects and the withdrawal symptoms, it's unethical.
It
Yet
is.
they're telling us that what we're doing is an ethical problem, is a welfare concern. How dare you? How dare
How
you?
dare
So at
you?
the
And
very least, what I wanted as this article, I wanted trainers, especially trainers who maybe, I've spent years, I was on the board for the IACP. I restarted the legislation committee to combat against these things. So I was writing letters like this to senators and to legislators. And so I'm very familiar, I'm very confident about these things, but a lot of trainers are just trying to train dogs, and then they get caught in these things. And I basically want them I wanted to arm them and say, like, hey, I know this feels really authoritative, and you might not really know how to respond when somebody drops this position statement, but here's how you should respond to it. Here's how you should feel about that position statement if you're a dog trainer. Or at least here's how to articulate the way that you do feel. I can't tell anybody how they should feel. If you feel the way I do, here's how you can articulate that if it gets brought up in a discussion. And that was my real goal of this post. I'm not trying to change anybody else's mind. I don't expect the veterinary society to even read this article. I don't care if they do or not. I know probably some veterinarians are offended by this. I apologize. I have veterinarian friends. I have no, this isn't a condemnation of the veterinary industry. And I know there are really good veterinary behaviors out there. Some of them are actually even really good dog trainers, but they're the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. Well, just like I said, because I've had the same experience, I call it hills and pills, hills science diet or pills. And I've seen Hill science diet fix some pretty serious cases. But the thing is that when we do take this from a scientific approach and we use a scientific method, the first rule is, well, I mean, besides hypothesis, but the first thing that we do is observe. And that's what I feel you're doing, is taking the data and observing what is, but you're applying your real world experience with one of these drugs and bringing it to light and saying, like, look, if this affected me in this way, and how long were you on that, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, it's hard to remember. I would say at least a year.
Okay, so you were on there for a pretty long time. Okay. But a
Yeah.
lot of these dogs that I've worked with have been on these for a few years, you know.
Sometimes it's like literally life. And for some people too, I mean, that's the thing, is this isn't just dogs. You know, it's coming out more and more now. In fact, The Economist had a podcast about it recently, about just how, again, even in humans, the safety studies are short-term. The product recommendations are short-term, but the prescriptions are more often than not long-term. And the people are often not given any warning about the withdrawal symptoms and the side effects. And it's a huge problem also in human medicine. But, and again, there are human psychiatry offices that if you walk in, you are almost 100% guaranteed to walk out with a prescription. I have the same ethical concerns about that. But at least the human can choose whether or not they want to take that prescription. The dog cannot. The human can Google the side effects on their own. The dog cannot. The human can express, hey, this is making me feel weird. This is giving me suicidal thoughts. Why does my brain feel like it's being electrocuted? We don't even know if a dog gets brain zaps. How would you even know?
We don't. We never know.
You know? How do you know if a dog has a headache?
We don't.
Do you think your dog gets headaches?
Yes, I know he does. I know he does, because they're biological creature with vasoconstriction, just like we do. We have.
But how do you know when he's got a headache? I don't know.
I don't.
Like, I don't know, right? So it's
there's no way we could know. Maybe with AI,
really valid concerns. And so, hey, you know, you want to talk welfare? Let's talk it. You know, but I think maybe if you're that concerned about welfare, maybe take a quick look in the mirror before you worry about what dog trainers are doing.
And I've always been told by my psychiatric friends who are psychiatrists that these pills are meant, once the brain, to regulate or bring the brain back into a position where the person can handle it themselves. And it's always been it's always like a temporary thing. And I've had people that I've known in my life that have received benefit from a short-term use of these medications, but I don't know if they're still on it, and I don't know, like you said, like, what are the long-term effects of this? And
there may be people who do need to be on it long-term. It just hasn't been studied yet. Like, it's just that the safety studies haven't been done for long-term usage. That doesn't mean that there's no, I'm not the one to say whether there's any, you know, justifiable use case for long-term. But you know, it's not without risk. Just like punishment is not without risk.
Yep.
It should be done carefully and judiciously, and like it's not like the first thing I do, just go in and start punishing dogs. Right. So of course there are risks. They need to be acknowledged. And all I'm saying is that they've got the same thing on their end. Like, it's not that much different. So it just feels a little bit odd to me that they have this like strict, like, how dare you ever use a correction on a dog? But then this is completely okay. Not only is it okay, but we advocate for it. That's just a wild proposition to me. It's not, it doesn't, the math doesn't math, as they would say, right?
Yeah, Tyler,
So
I want to encourage you to stay on this and to go deeper and I think that you're onto something here, man, that needs to be flushed out for the benefit of our dogs. And I just that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you is because I read this article and I was just dumbfounded, and I'm even more as we comb through it and as you shared your experience. I just want to, and I know that it can go both ways, where like a momentary aversive can be detrimental if it's improperly applied, or the technology. It just reminds me of this dog named Pierre
absolutely.
that I had a bark collar on him, and it was an old bark collar, and he barked and then yelped and then yelped and then yelped
And
because
then
the
keeps
thing just kept
firing. Yeah.
right. And I
Yeah.
was taking this collar off of him because the dude was having a hard time, and he's like biting my hands, and finally I got it off, and I felt so bad because it was, but guess what? I threw that collar away. I learned, and then I talked to Greg Van Kuren from eCollar Technologies, and I even talked to the guys from Dogtra, and then I shared my experience with them, and they let me know that they've had that happen before. This actually was a sport dog collar from a long time ago, and that they've implemented changes to mitigate the experience of that happening ever again. But I used
Exactly.
my experience to them to tell them about a very bad uh, instance
Yeah.
that had happened to me, and so to make sure that we're communicating to bring about changes for the welfare of these animals. And so,
Absolutely. And again, anybody who knows me, who's listened to me talk enough, knows that I am I'm an advocate for us being able to be more open about the use of punishment, but I'm also a very strong advocate for being open and honest about like the risks that are involved, the potential for things to go wrong, and making sure that we do as much as we can to mitigate that. I do think there are some dog trainers out there who are a little bit too willy-nilly about things, like they like as if an e-collar is completely harmless and there's no, and again, with the right use, like sure, it can be used in a way that's completely harmless. Absolutely. Um, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be aware of those risks, right?
yeah.
With any kind of correction, negative reinforcement, pressure, punishment, whatever terms you want to use. So yeah, I'm not sitting here saying that like, hey, we shouldn't have any words of caution about e-collar use, or that we shouldn't make sure that we're educating people how to make sure they're doing it properly, that there are risks involved. Everything has risks, right? Um, but this idea of like, it should never be done under any circumstances, or only as a very, 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 very last resort. I don't think that that's healthy or in dog's best interest either.
Or that
Um,
a pill should be administered first before, or I mean, it
or that
never
a
should
pill should be
happen. So
administered
then we
first,
need to
right?
put a pill to everybody gets a pill, and
Yeah.
problem solved.
Problem
Magic.
solved. Yeah, exactly. It's just,
Magic pill without considering, and I love that it's the consider the dog, like, because we
yeah,
have to
yeah. And
consider.
by the way, these are the same kinds of people who like drop this position statement that are all about like this idea of like consent with dogs, right? Like you have to, like the dog has to consent for like different activities and consent for like almost everything it does. It's like, did the dog consent to you literally altering its brain chemistry? So you're dropping a position statement of people that will alter a dog's brain chemistry without the dog's consent, but like, God forbid we put a leash on it and like say, hey, I just need you to come over here right now. Like it's just that the hypocrisy is like astounding here.
Yeah.
Um, so again, the American Veterinary Society, Behavior Society, they're more than welcome to have their own position statement. Um, all I'm disagreeing with is this idea that they are the authority on the matter,
And that
right?
their
I can
position
put out a
state.
position statement on how I feel about dogs being neutered at a young age. I'm
Yeah.
not an authority on that topic. I can put out a position statement, but nobody should take that position statement as an authoritative voice.
Yeah. I mean, I could put out a position statement on just about everything.
Yeah, right.
On
Like I'm not
the
knocking.
New York
I'm not.
Yankees, dude, they
Listen, man, this
suck.
is America, right? Like free speech, man. You can have a position. You want to put your position out there, whatever. I respect your right to have that position. They have the right to feel, however, if they as a society prefer certain training methods, that's cool. You have a right to do that. but let's just not pretend that you're the authoritative like voice on it. It's just not.
And
That's all I'm saying here.
let's not forget that these are scientific houses or scientific. They claim to be the authority in the science department with that with glaring holes.
Just absolutely dubious science. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
craziness.
absolutely dubious science, and not only that, but it should be scrutinized, and I hope that the people that are listening to this not only read his article, which I just posted up in the comments, you guys, but Tyler, I think that we need to take this and actually have forms of rebuttal that we formulate in order to bring about awareness and where we can succinctly put this in a simple manner that make people understand the problem that we see here glaring us right in the face.
Yeah, and
Because
that's
it's
why I write these kinds of things. It's. I think sometimes people are like afraid to say it. Like I think a lot of people have thought, but it's like I don't know. I can't speak out against the veterinarians. It's like I don't
yeah,
know.
they're pretty
I mean,
big
I think
influence, man.
I've always done this kind of thing. Like I wrote an article 15 years ago. It's called "Silent Killer." I think it was one of the reasons they asked me to be on the board for the IACP because it was basically calling out that like, hey, this whole pure positive movement, like there are dogs dying because of this. Like this is probably more dogs dying because of this than from disease right now. It was pretty outspoken at the time when like balanced dog trainers were still getting pretty heavily attacked. It's man, people that are just starting out now, you don't know how bad it used to be. Like you couldn't even show an e-collar on social media back in the day. You'd have the SPCA called on you. I used to get death threats. I used to get death threats. Yeah, 100%. I got death threats after the Silent Killer article. I got legit like threatening letters. I also had a local trainer send written letters to almost every veterinarian in the area telling them that I was an animal abuser. So anyway, I wrote that article back then. I think even more so now that I'm like, I guess saying I don't have skin in the game is not the right term, but like, I don't own a training facility anymore. Like, I kind of don't have a lot to lose at this point. You know what I mean? Like, they could come at me, like, whatever. I don't really care. I sort of already, I think I already got to the finish line. I'm kind of done now. And I'm kind of looking at this whole thing from the outside in. It's another thing that I love about what I do now. My perspective after having sold my training center has changed a lot because I'm not in the thick of it anymore. I'm literally looking at the industry I'm an outsider with very, very inside knowledge now. But
and you're getting older, dude. That's what the beautiful thing about getting older is you don't give a shit.
But I'm also, financially, I'm not at risk from fallout of any of these things at this point in my career. I think that helps as well. And so, but it's also, I'm in a position where like, so for instance, because I don't train pet dogs anymore, like if e-collars got banned, it wouldn't really affect me personally in any way. Like I don't use an e-collar on my dog I own right now. So from that standpoint, I'm also able from the e-collar debate to like see both sides of it a little bit more clearly, and understand like, hey, well, if we want to advocate for e-collars, well, we do need to talk about like, we can't just sugarcoat them and say like, oh, it's just a tap on the shoulder. Oh, look, because I pair it with food when I'm conditioning it, I'm using it as positive reinforcement. Like bullshit. Sorry. If that's the case, you just really overpaid for a clicker. So I'm able to kind of see both sides of that picture and say like, hey, like, because there are, I mean, honestly, we're going to go down another rabbit hole here that I don't really want to go down, but like,
let's do it.
Objectively and like theoretically speaking, I'm not against the idea of like regulation of the industry, but I'm against it in reality from a practicality standpoint because it's a dangerous slippery slope for us balanced dog trainers. But anybody can decide they want to be a dog trainer and hang up their shingle. And I've seen some really bad dog training as a result of that. And really bad dog training that's done with, under the name of balanced dog training, we'll call it. And that's not okay. right? So,
W-
I think we got to see both sides clearly.
I think that because we're in the emotional arena, it's inevitable. There will be a licensure aspect of dog training. And Bart talks about like
There
driver's
already is in
license.
some states. In some
Is there?
states, you do have to. Yeah, yeah,
And I'm not for it, but I see the problem with the Wild West, too much freedom, so to speak. And we see it. I think that it's kind of like an elementary phase of evolving as human uh, civilization grows. That we see these buildup of paradigms that are a little bit more um, robust and more, I guess, safe. Like we owe it to be safe. And not only that, but I was talking to Robert Cabral when I did one of these live streams where I think that we should have an animal abuse registry, just like we have a sex offender registry. Like if somebody has been convicted of abusing animals, that we should know about it, and we should have a way to research that.
Mhm.
So it goes on both ends, and to know like there is a proper use, but and same thing, there is an improper use to use these tools, and there's no the way that we get out of this is by communicating and being evolve as we grow to not just be um, mindful of the disadvantages, but also to ensure that we have protocols in place that are ensure the safety and the well-being emotionally, physically, and of our dogs.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And I think I mean, at the end of the day, I recently said this on a different podcast as well, but one of my kind of positions is like, okay, for those people who are being outspoken in the name of animal welfare, right? They're like, I'm a crusader for animal welfare, and I'm devoting my life to wanting to improve animal welfare. And so that's why I'm going to attack balanced dog training.
mm,
Okay. As a guy who spends a lot of time thinking about how to do things efficiently, if my goal is to improve animal welfare, I can't think of a less efficient way to apply my time and energy than going after other dog trainers who just kind of disagree with me on like, you know, like they're also trying to improve the lives of dogs. We just have some disagreements about what that looks like. In the meantime, there's like legit abuse going on out there and like hoarding and all kinds of stuff that like, like it could really like your time and energy could probably do a lot more positive change. But like I'm gonna fight with other dog trainers on the internet. I mean, if you really care about welfare, I would just encourage you to think about whether you're deploying your resources
mm.
in a way that they're very useful. Um, because fighting with each other as dog trainers is probably not the end of the day, even if they succeed in like, okay, now you can't use e-collars anymore. I don't
Which
think
they
that's going to
have.
have an impact on animal abuse. Like I think animal abuse, like I don't think it's going to really change that much when it comes to like overall animal welfare, because people that are going to do mean things to dogs are still going to do mean things to dogs. And those people are probably not the people that are investing in like expensive training equipment and lessons on how to use it. Right. Like, I just don't think that that's going to make much of a difference in the end, at the end of it. I think there's just way better uses of our time.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's why I'm more about the registry. Like
Yeah.
find the people that have been found out, convicted. Like I've heard, I mean, I've worked in the rescue world and I know horrible stories. I've seen it with my own eyes. And I will never ever
Yeah.
forget some of these situations that I've seen these dogs in, and the situations that I've seen these dogs' bodies break down to when they've been severely neglected or left out, and exposure from never ever being inside. But I also, one book that I was just talking about is Angels of Our Better Nature. Steven Pinker. It's talks about how violence has declined in society, and
Mhm.
it's in 1960, and I mean 1973. So at the tail end of 1960s, in 1973, the Endangered Species Act came, and then the Animal Welfare just was started. Same thing with women's rights and with gay rights. All this stuff was born in the 60s. And I think as we evolve, it just makes sense to me that there is going to be a regulatory factor of animal stewardship that is just going to be part of the process here of. But you're right, man.
Yeah.
There's boarding situations and
Yeah, I
and
just don't think training methodology is like the answer there. Like, I just don't
no,
think it's going to make a difference. I mean,
but
honestly, and like, so one more thing. So again, like even if you ban tools or you ban trainers' ability to like teach people how to correct their dogs, people are still going to need to control their dogs, period. So they're just not going to be educated how. So it's probably going to get messier. You're probably actually going to have more stuff that's like not so good for dogs because you have a lack of education, but you haven't removed the need. So again, I think if I'm somebody and my real goal is to not just say no e-collars, but like I want there to be less people feeling like they need to use punishment or discipline or corrections or whatever you want to call it to control their dog. Maybe we need to look at breeding. Like I own a mini golden doodle labradoodle. The reason I don't have an e-collar is because I don't need one on her. Like she's chill, she's low prey drive, she wouldn't hurt a fly. Like children could like sit on her and she wouldn't bite them.
Amen, dude.
So like,
Why don't we
I
talk
mean,
about
as
that,
long
dude?
as long as people who live in cul-de-sacs are buying like high defense, high predatory dogs, there's
High
going to need
maintenance
there's
dogs.
going to be a need for them to physically control those animals. So maybe we need to look at the breeding and marketing of these dogs. If you will stop more people from using corrections if you change the types of dogs people are buying than if you just make corrections illegal, because making corrections illegal is not going to stop humans who own those dogs from having to physically control those dogs. It doesn't change anything. It's going to make it uglier. It's going to make them do it in more crude ways.
That's why one of my favorite things to do, Tyler, is matchmaking.
Oh,
and do you know what I tell the people that I matchmake them with the dog? I'm like, I will never see you again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're not going to need me, dude. Because
that's the point, man. People getting the wrong dog is what keeps dog trainers in business.
And people appealing to emotion to put those dogs in the places that they shouldn't have been in the first place. And I've had people that have gotten dogs that I'm like, what are you doing with this dog, man? And they were like, well, they were going to euthanize him. And I'm like, not your problem, dude. Like this dog is now in, I mean, I don't want to say the worse situation than being euthanized, but I don't know if that's the case or I also hear the sob stories about like this dog was in a fighting ring and stuff like that. And I don't know, man. Like I think that people associate their decision with buying a high maintenance dog with some type of wannabe figure in their psyche. I don't know, man. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. People, I mean, yeah.
But you're absolutely right. The breeding and focusing on the right breed, and doing the due diligence. I tell people you're making it. You're making a decade decision here, man. Why did you just take 2 seconds to make a decade decision? Like you should take maybe a few months at least because that's going to affect your life for the next 10 years. And same thing with me. I have one e-collar. I don't ever need an e-collar. I like them just for once the dog has a good recall or whatever, if we can let them off leash, have a good freedom. But I don't, I mean, there's no, like, it's no harm, no foul. If I never bought another e-collar in my life, I can still train dogs. I can still work with any dog, any situation. But you're absolutely right, dude. We'll start wrapping this up, but I need to run back to the comments. Okay. And then we'll end this. Okay. I found your silent killer article. I put that up in the comments as well, you guys.
And there's a follow-up to that too. It's titled Now That I Have Your Attention.
Okay. I'll find that one too. Hold on. Now that I have your attention.
Yeah.
I have your attention. Yeah, but I want you, man. Like, I think, attention, Tyler Muto. I think that this is something that we're itching for, man, because there's something about so many dogs being Um, euthanize. It brings up the same silent killer one. Now that I have your attention. I think this one might be the now that I have your attention
Yeah, it
one.
was published like literally right after it.
Okay. Oh, now I
Yeah, I
have
mean,
your attention right here.
I hope that now that I've kind of like put the words out there or like articulated them, that other people also take up the torch. I mean, I'm not a crusader, especially at this point in my life right now, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know, it's just, I saw that comment that that person made, and I was just like, oh God, enough of this. Like somebody needs to just say this out loud. Because
I'm glad you did, dude.
I've got strong feelings about that whole field. Honestly, I'm not. Yeah, you know, I'm not trying to put anybody down. I just don't. I
Do you
don't
know?
like that. I don't like that industry.
Yeah, I think they. I mean, we won't get started because we'll start going off again.
Yeah, we'll
Do
go.
you know
Yeah,
who Nate
yeah.
Schomer is?
I know the name. I don't. I'm not like I.
He's a
Yeah,
good buddy. He's got over almost
yeah.
400,000 followers on
Nate.
YouTube.
Yeah, I'll jump on. Yep.
Okay, I'll put you two in
Yeah.
touch. I'll put
Just
you
hit
in
me with a
two in touch.
DM. Yeah.
I got you. I got you too. Nate's a great friend of mine and great guy.
Yeah.
And Nate is using an AI agent for his assistant on the phone.
It's
So if you
amazing.
call, he's like, did you like my AI agent? We're always talking about this stuff. And I'm like, yeah. Somebody wants to know if a business coach are advising owners to build Bitcoin treasuries yet.
So I do often advise people on like finance stuff because my other life, like Bill knows, I'm a big investor. I day trade every day in the futures markets. I'm not a crypto guy personally. Nothing. It's not. Don't take it personal for people that are into crypto. It's not my thing. It's just not my cup of tea. There's plenty of other things that I do like investing in, but the principles are all the same. So, do I personally advise people to like? This was probably given as a joke, but do I advise people to like buy crypto? No. More often when I'm talking to dog trainers and it's getting into finance, though, it's like I talk to a lot of people that are like my age. I'm in my low 40s that like they have no retirement savings whatsoever. And you know, my wife works, she's in the legal field and she works with elderly populations. And you see the situations that some of these folks are in that didn't plan financially for their future. I mean, they just couldn't. They didn't have the means to. It's scary.
Comes quick.
So I do really advise people a lot on at least getting started with basic strategic planning for your financial future. I'm not a fiduciary. I don't make financial decisions for you. But I do help steer people in the right direction to make sure that people are building a good, solid financial base. And that includes also managing debt as well. And I do also help people with just managing their business finances also. So I know that that's might've been kind of a joke, but like, quite honestly, like I'm in the financial markets all day. So I
oil
do get people that ask
futures,
a lot of
dude.
questions
I
about
bet
that
oil
stuff.
futures are going crazy with this.
Oil was wild last night. Oh my gosh. Oil was wild,
I
man.
thought about you when I heard about the
Yeah,
price.
I was watching oil futures last night. Yep.
Yeah, I
Yep.
bet you
Oil was
were.
wild. Oil gapped up. It was huge.
In crypto, I'm not a financial advisor, but what I would recommend is stay with the back daddies, stay with the big boys,
Big ones. If
Bitcoin,
you're gonna do
Ethereum,
it, go with the big ones.
Solana,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm always looking towards the horizon, and what we're looking towards is quantum computing, because once the quantum computing, they call it Q day, and once that happens, is that every encryption key will be broken by this capabilities of quantum computing. So then we're looking for technology that will further encrypt to keep blockchain safe from this new technology coming up. So look into like Qubit, look into a couple other that is very, I mean, fractions of a penny right now, and I'm invested heavily in some of those projects. But you cannot go wrong with the big boys, and only invest what you feel you can lose. It is a very volatile market,
especially with crypto. Yeah. Like for me, when I look at crypto, I look at it from a trader standpoint, less from like an investment standpoint, because I don't understand the fundamentals of it well enough to look at it from a long-term investment standpoint. So for me, it's more of like I'm a trader. I'm an active trader. I hold long-term investments, but it's like those are separate accounts, totally different ball game. And I don't do crypto for that.
Okay, pill first, e-collar bolts, riddle and really screwed me up. ASV should not be telling dog trainers what to do. Veterinary behavior is ethical problems, but the government should. Famously ethical institution. Yeah, dude. Like I don't want the government, but I just know how the world works, and because we're in the emotional arena, people are 10 times more likely to act based on emotion than pure logic. It's coming. I mean, it's
Yeah.
already been implemented in Australia,
Yeah.
UK,
And
like
I mean,
all
the,
these
the
European
big
countries.
problem is that people don't understand that I know for a fact there's at least one or two big name reward based like trainers out there that are kind of like influential in that world that I know they moved to reward based because it's a cash cow.
Yep.
It's extremely marketable. And I can tell you from being on the legislative end with the IACP, the organizations that are pushing for
Keep talking.
certifications that require pure positive.
I got a dog
Um,
bang something out here. I'll be right back. Keep talking though,
all
Tyler. I'll be
good,
right
all
back.
good. These organizations, I could tell you, because when an organization lobbies with the government, with a legislator to push for something, they have to disclose their funding. And so I've seen it. I've seen the financial war chests that these organizations have. There's a tremendous amount of money behind the reward-based movement. It's a very profitable movement, and that's what makes it scary for me. If it were a more balanced playing field, like no pun intended, I'm not in theory against regulation of the dog training industry, but the balanced community, it's a okay. If you've never owned a difficult dog, and it's really easy for somebody to be like, "Oh, e-collars are so evil and horrible," and da da da. You're like, "Yeah, that makes sense." You know what I mean? So for the general public who's never been in this situation, the reward-based trainers it's so much easier for them to solicit donations and collect money. The balanced dog training organizations, unless somebody's been through it and needed one of the tools, they have a lot more convincing of people to do. And so
Yeah.
financially, it's way lopsided. I've seen what they have because they had to disclose it when they were lobbying, and I was involved in those conversations, and they have financial war chests, like significant funding.
Well, Tyler said thanks for your voice on our behalf, and I think that's what we should leave this on, man. We're approaching 3 hours. What was your guy's first dog? How much did you learn? You were right at the end here, man. I'll do a quick one. First dog was Timber. He was a golden retriever. Well, first dog was Squeaky. When I was 8 years old, I wanted a dog so bad. My parents got me Squeaky, who was actually my grandparents' like 12-year-old schnauzer that they brought over. Like, Squeaky is now your dog. And then they saw how I cared for him, and I took care of Squeaky till the last days. And then they got me a golden retriever named Timber, and that's how I started getting into dog training. And that was when I was 8 years old. I'm 49 now, and never looked back.
Yeah, I'm gonna credit two dogs here, because they're both my childhood dogs. So one was Chester, who died super young. He was a beagle. My dad's cousin bred beagles for hunting. We lived in the city. He gave us one. It did not go well. But one of the things that happened, and the reason he died young, was we didn't know how to train a beagle. We didn't go to training classes. We'd walk him, all the time in the city, and he collapsed his trachea to the point that he had to be put to sleep. And so that was that was very impactful. I was at just the right age for that to really hit me hard. I was really emotional about it when it happened. And then the other one was the dog that we got after that. It was sort of a rescue type situation. This little scraggly little mutt named Oliver, little terrier guy. And I've told this story before, but I was really bonded to him. But he had some issues, like he was food aggressive. But this was the 80s, right? So it was like, it's just like, just leave the dog alone, right? Like, just no big deal, right? Just don't mess with him while he's eating. So one day, in my infinite wisdom as a child, he was in his little LL Bean cedar chip filled dog bed, and I decided I was going to go over and teach him how to give me kisses by literally holding a milk bone behind my back and shoving my face in his face. And I don't know how much time passed before he decided to just bite my face. So I still have a little dimple right here. See it?
Oh, Oliver.
That's from Oliver.
Oliver kiss.
And again, I think my parents' response to it, I think, was influential, because again, it wasn't like oh my God, we got to kill the dog, right? Like it was like,
what the hell were you
you
thinking,
should have known
Tyler?
better. Like, what are you doing here? I think there's some of that I think maybe, as the pendulum swings in our culture with dogs and how we treat dogs in our life, that maybe we need to bring a little bit of that just sort of like fundamental respect for the animal back into things. And I think that has colored my work a little bit. Again, consider the dog. Like, what, you weren't thinking about the dog. You wanted to teach the dog to give your face kisses, and you weren't thinking at all about how he feels about that situation. And that's the result of it. So yeah, those are my first dogs.
Dude, this has been awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you,
Thanks for
Tyler.
having me.
And then we went over how to contact Tyler, tylermuto.com in the comments, and considerthedog.com if you guys want to have access to amazing portals.
And honestly, both are cheap. Like, I'm one of the cheapest coaches. People are always like I go through stuff with people, I give them my pricing, and I've had people literally say, why are you, like, every other coach I've contacted is like, people charge like wild amounts for coaching. Have you noticed that? It's like insane. And part of me is like, how do you possibly justify that fee? But for me, one thing I will say is I like having long-term relationships with my clients. And I'm really proud of the fact that a lot of the trainers that work with me again and again and again. Like, we do, they purchase a package of coaching, we go through it, they hit some goals, their business grows, they change, things like that. And then they come back and they come back. And I've got trainers that I've been working with on and off for 4 or 5 years. And I love that. And so I try to price myself in a way where, like, that's realistic for people, that they can do that, right? It's not just like I can only afford this once kind of thing. And consider the dog. I mean, for the love of God, literally, it's like 150 hours of content on there. We're always updating it, adding new stuff. We do live streams. It's $20 a month. Like, it's got to be like the biggest steal in dog training out there today. So, I try to make, I've been blessed in life. I've been successful in my business in life. And I try to put things out there that are affordable and very doable for people. So yeah, you can check it out. Check out all that content there.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
well,
man.
Tyler, let's say goodbye to the audience here, and then I'll say goodbye to you in the studio, bro. But thank you very much.
Thanks,
and you guys,
everybody who joined us live.
And just so you guys know, I highly recommend Tyler. He's definitely got my seal of approval. And go check him out. And well, thank you, dude. All right. Bye, everybody.